This episode of WrapOn Podcast is brought to you by Brothers Chemical. Brothers Chemical manufactures Vinyl Off and Ghost Off, two of the finest removal and fleet restoration products on the market. And they've just released their Adhesive Off Pro, a low evaporating, fast action glue remover that cuts through adhesive residue better than anything else on the market, saving you time and money on your next removal. Find Adhesive Off Pro at select retailers and online at brotherschemical.com. Use code WrapOn for free shipping on your first online order. That's brotherschemical.com. All right, let's go. I wanted to say, we're rolling, right? Yes. Okay, perfect. I was about, because I wanted to tell you something. You do this shot right outside of your garage.
Yeah.
It's like, it's pretty consistent. You know what I'm talking about? This one photo that you do, and I love it, man. It's really distinct to you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that I see it from anybody else. Like, there's people that have their own shop, but that one in particular, I think that's.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Thank you.
And so when we met at WFCT, you had mentioned that's like the shop, right? So how's your shop set up? Actually, say your name and your company name. Let's start there.
I am Christopher Figueroa, and I own Bay Image in the Poconos.
In the Poconos.
Yeah.
Cool. And so your shop set up, how is that? How does your shop work?
So in the beginning, we used to have a 3,600 square foot facility, and I shared it with a mechanic. But, me and my wife, we started having kids, family oriented. Mm-hmm. It just became too much. I lived at the shop. I wasn't home. It wasn't working. Mm-hmm. So we kind of started figuring out what we could do. And when I found this property in the Poconos, I'm not from the Poconos, we saw it and it was like perfect. I mean,
why the Poconos?
Honestly, I said any house I could find that was commercially zoned that I knew I could build a garage in the back and make it custom to me, I was pulling the trigger. I didn't care where it was.
So you were good with
anywhere.
Like Florida, Texas?
I wouldn't say that far.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that far. I'd say within that eastern kind of coast.
Okay. So you from up that way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm born in New York, but we were raised in the Valley, Lehigh Valley, Allentown. But really that area, my shop was actually in Emmaus at the time, but traveling there like 30, 40 minutes every day, back and forth. I really wasn't home. I'd say after the second kid, she almost wanted to kill me because I was on the road all the time.
Sure.
So I had to figure out how to just bring it all together. So when I saw that property, I was like, man, that's the one.
So from the beginning, I say from that point when you started looking for your property, you knew that it was all going to be one thing.
Yeah, had to be.
Yeah, that's badass. Really.
Had to be.
I think it's awesome.
I mean, a lot of people were against it. I mean, I was posting about it. I had all these ideas, and everybody was like, don't do it. Don't do it. You need work and home. You need to be able to split it. And I would tell them, like, listen, I know how to just turn it off and on. She knows. I can just, at any moment, I could just flip it. But when it's time to work.
It's separate, though, right? Like, I mean, it's not.
Oh, no, it's there. It's all connected. It's all connected.
No, I've seen your videos and stuff. There's not like like your living room's not in the shop, right? Like, I mean, it's like a separate.
I'd have to show it to you.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, it is separate. But so the house that we actually bought was a model home.
Okay.
So the way it's set up was the garage that would have been a three and a half car garage is actually office space. So that's where we run like all our printing and production stuff.
Oh, okay.
And then I built 2,200 square feet of garage space in the back just to work on vehicles.
Got it.
So that's kind of how we did it.
So the garage that came with the house, that's where all your and I normally, like, when I see you post, it's more on the installation side, right?
Yeah.
Like your focus.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So I think it's, and you don't have any trouble, like you said, switching that off. Like, it's not.
No, not for me.
Yeah.
Not for me. It's one of those things that I'd probably say it's harder to switch to get back to being a dad. So that's where now I started coaching.
Yeah.
I had to. It was one of those things, like I said, when we came back from Texas, it was a commitment I made.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. Me and you've talked about it some, but just for everybody else, like, where did you get your start? How'd you cut your teeth? What was the...
So I'm actually a graphic designer by heart, trade, graduated, and the first job I got was at a wrap shop as a designer.
No chance.
Yeah, but they didn't want to let me install, man. They didn't want to let me install. I think I was there six months.
You wanted to install?
I did. I wanted, because I was doing all these designs, and then I kind of felt there was a passion for it. But the installs were good, don't get me wrong, but it was like, that's not what I had in mind. Like, it didn't flow the way I thought it was going to. So I kind of needed to get my hands on it more. So
was that a design error or an installation error?
I'd say it was a both.
Combination
of both.
Sure.
So what I started doing was I would get all my design stuff done by like noon. I'd come in early, clock out, and then I'd just go in the garage.
Because we talk about it a lot, how there's a gap between design and installation, even production, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a gaps there that, you know, for big companies is challenging. Because when you went to school for graphic design, you weren't designing wraps in school.
Not at all.
It was all offset printing, right? Yeah. So magazines, billboards, business cards,
and I wasn't in love with it.
No.
I wasn't. I didn't like, because I used to draw. So I kind of needed to know what I was going to do in the future. So it was like, all right, graphic design. I liked the whole idea for billboards. I didn't want to go to New York. I just didn't like the idea of the city.
Got it.
So it was what was next. And then when I saw vehicle wraps kind of taking off, everybody thought I was crazy. They're like, what's that? You're putting graphics and playing with stickers.
Do you draw now?
Not as much as I would like to.
Yeah.
Not as much though.
But it is something that you're into?
Yeah. Now my girls are into it though.
Really?
So that's huge for me. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
always
cool.
pushing them. They don't do no social media. It's all drawing, books, creativity. And that's kind of the route we go with them. So yeah, it's definitely neat. It's neat.
So get on with the wrap shop.
Yep.
You're designing, you want to install. Where to go from there?
So I kind of had to figure out what was next. Still no kids at this point.
Gotcha.
So
Wife?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been together 18 years.
18 years.
18 years.
No way. When did you meet?
11th grade.
So you were in high school?
Yep.
No way.
Did I get that right? Okay, good. Good. I had to check, fact check. Yep, I got that right.
You would have known if you got it wrong.
Yeah, I would have, something would have got thrown. I probably would have been on the floor, but we got it right. We got it right.
Cool.
But yeah, so I was trying to figure things out. So another sign shop out in Jersey kind of gave me an opportunity to go out there and bring wraps to a sign shop. So it was a little bit of different mentality. I was like, man, this would give me that route to kind of bring what I learned from one shop and add it to another. I didn't want to do anything local because I'm not that type of person to kind of say, hey, I want to step on what you trained me to do. So I was like, no, let me take kind of what I learned here and apply it. And again, at that time, I really wasn't installing that much yet. It was kind of more me punching out, clocking out, and then learning it on my own. So when I brought it to Jersey, it was kind of like another eye opener. But then I got to learn signs too. So that was really neat. And then
Are you doing signs now?
we do. I wouldn't say we dabble in it as much as I would like to. It's just a whole nother process.
Sure.
So I kind of stay out of it. We do some signage.
Probably more like updated.
Yeah. So if there exists, we
reface
reface them and things like that. Storefronts and things like that. Blade signs, they're pretty easy. But once you get into monument signs, we kind of
Whole different
yeah, we'll pass the torch off to somebody else. But from that perspective, my boss was amazing. I give him all kudos. His main line was "Happy wife, happy life."
Yeah.
So when we found out we were having our first kid, I sat down with him and I said, "Happy wife, happy life. I can't live here. It's too expensive." I was like, "It's just not happening." So I have to figure out how can I take what I learned now. I was there for about a year and a half and apply it back and take it back to where I was at. And that's when we sat down. We kind of went through some numbers and I was like, he's like, "You're crazy. You're going to have a kid and you're going to start your own business?" I was like, "Yep." And I jumped into it. And that's where Bay Image started. I was literally designing inside of the garage. So I was in the bay of the garage and I was creating these images and they were beautiful things that we were putting on vehicles and things like that. And I was like, I want to call it the Bay, but Hudson Bay already had that. So I couldn't call it that. So then I kind of transitioned to what could I do? And I came up with Bay Image.
So you were outsourcing your prints?
Yeah.
Okay.
When I first started, everything was outsourced. I was designing them. We were getting the cars in. We were doing this. I found a small little shop that I could work out of. I mean, when you talk about a small little shop, I couldn't even move from side to side when we were doing it.
Right.
But we got the work done. We started building up. I had a couple dealerships. The word of mouth was getting out there. And then I met a good buddy of mine. To this day, we're still best friends. But he was looking for a shop as a mechanic. So that's when we ended up renting that space where we split it. And I had my wrap shop and he had a mechanic shop.
Got it.
And we kind of took the reins and we started taking over.
You know, it's kind of cool to see. I don't know. I was just sitting here thinking about another designer that went wrap shop. You know what I mean? Because the entry into what we do is kind of all over the place. Like you hear like stories of how people come into it, you know. And normally the designers will find a spot somewhere and they're at home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I mean, somebody buys you a nice piece of equipment. You know, you get you a nice computer, a nice chair, you get a nice clean office. I mean, you can get spoiled in the design space really quickly. You know what I mean? And I don't think a lot of them, because I was a lot like that too. Like I went to school for graphic design, and then but I already had some install history, right? So, but when the reason I wanted to design was the designers were like, "Oh, we can't do that." Yeah. And I was like, "Oh no, I know we can. We got to be able to do that." So then that was frustrating. So I was I went in from the other, but when I came back out, it was like, okay, well now I can do a little bit of both, and I can make that work. So, but it was interesting to see how as I'm working with other companies, it's interesting to see how people come into it, right, and how they stay and how they pick up, what it is, what they're passionate about, and because you could easily get lower, like.
It's tough. I think for me, the biggest thing too is I can't sit still for that long. I need to be mobile. So me at a computer, I think I got like a 2-hour limit. 2 hours and I got to get back in the garage. Even if I say like today's my install day, I'll go in, I'll help the guys tack something. I'll kind of show them a new technique and then I'll just be right back at my computer. But I can't just 2 hours. That's it for me.
About max.
Yeah, I max out at that. But I'm pretty quick.
Yeah.
Pretty quick. I'll probably in 2 hours, I'll render like 3 or 4 designs.
Oh, no chance.
Yeah, I'm pretty quick at it.
So you're still designing now?
Oh, yeah. I do all our designs. Okay. Every design, I mean, I'm going to say 90% because sometimes we do install only.
Sure.
But if you look at our page, I'd probably say 90% of it I design.
All right. So you split the mechanic shop for a little while, and that was good?
It was good. It's just we ran into different loopholes and issues that it was never going to be mine. I'm real big on certain type of cars we were picking up. I think the biggest turning point was we had a Ferrari, and the client didn't tell me it was a Ferrari. He's like, "Hey, I'm coming. I need something on my car." I'm like, "Yeah, just drive down. I'll take a look at it." And he came, and he's like, "I'm at the driveway, and I don't want to come down." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "I just don't feel comfortable driving down." I'm like, "I've never had this issue before, so let me come out." And then I came out, and I'm looking at the driveway, and I'm like, "Oh, because we had stone. It wasn't paved."
Yep.
So after that, I kind of talked to the landlord. I'm like, "Hey, how much is it going to cost? Like, I'll upfront it, whatever it costs, if we can work out a deal." And I guess the zoning or something there, it had to be porous ground, so they couldn't pave it. And she was considering it, and it would have taken a whole another stormwater setup, this, that, to get it done. So she just kind of gave me the cold shoulder and was like, "It's not happening." And in that moment, I kind of knew once that wall was up, how do I break it down?
Sure.
So that's when I told her, I was like, "No, I need to find something that's mine." And then, long-term goals, we started meeting more people and they start saying real estate is it. So I'm like, man, I need to find this property. And if I find it, no matter what it looks like, it could have been a shack. I told her that. It could have been a shack anywhere. If it was there and I was commercially zoned where I could build my shop on it, I was pulling the trigger. I just got lucky and I found a pretty nice property in the Poconos. So yeah, we got lucky.
Well, the Poconos is nice anyway,
I
right?
do love the Poconos.
Yeah.
I'm never, let me not say I'm never leaving because I did leave and I came back. But now I'm not leaving.
No,
I like the Poconos.
I've heard great things about it.
Yeah, it's peaceful. It's peaceful. The people are great. The community's great. I'd say now we have a footprint down, and we've been there about 6 years. Yeah. So I'd probably say one of the biggest welcome backs was when I left and I came back. Just everyone just saying, "Hey, thank you for coming back. We missed you."
So you were in the mechanic shop, crushing it there.
Yeah.
Bought the house in the Poconos, and you set up shop.
Yep.
So you had the 3-car garage. Did you have any printers or anything by that
point?
point?
So when we did that, I only had 1,000 square feet. Okay. I did the garage first at 1,000, and then I was a crew of two, and then we started growing to a crew of almost 6. And I was like, we need more space. And I think that was right before COVID is when we pulled the trigger on doing the addition. And then when we did the addition, it was like, all right, hey, now we're gonna have 2 more dedicated clean bay spaces, almost like a PPF and tint bay. And then we can do our commercial stuff in the other one. And the idea was there, the team was there, everything was great. I'm not gonna blame COVID, but just kind of people's isolation,
it was tough.
everybody's mental stability. We stayed open. Yeah. We were able to stay open. We did drop off only, Dropbox. Everybody kind of just put their keys in the lockbox and stuff. We did the best we could. Everybody got paid the entire time. We never shut down. I felt like I did right by my employees at the time, just trying to keep everything going. And then when the world started opening back up, everything just kind of skyrocketed in prices, and everything just kind of started being more of an eye opener. Some of our installers were just like, "Man, if you can manage to do that through all this, I think I can do this now on my own." And I was just like, "Oh, are you kidding me?" It was kind of one of those eye-opening things where, and now I'm in the process of doing the addition. It wasn't completed yet. We were kind of getting it. We could use it a little bit, but it wasn't 100% there.
Right.
But it was a deep pocket. It was expensive. Expensive.
Were you printing when you were at the mechanic shop?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so
I've always been printing. Been printing. Yeah.
So even before you moved in there, you had a printer.
Yeah.
What kind of printer did you buy?
I do HP latex.
Okay.
Because for me, the shops that I worked at, the first one I worked at right out of college, they had an HP latex. And I like the features where you can print, lam, and install right away. Echo solvents, you got to wait, outgassing.
Yep.
And then when I went to Jersey, they had an echo solvent, and I was trying to convince them. But, you know, people in their old ways. And even now, the battle is 50-50, depending on what you want. But we ran into a couple projects where we would print them all in Jersey, and we would lay them all out and wait till the next day, and then we go to laminate it. We found issues with it. There were specs, or I just wasn't 100% happy with that. Right. So I was like, no, we got to take it directly from print to lam to install.
You know, it's interesting that you say that because we always talk about it, right? As trainers, you got to be like, you're not really giving advice. You're just really just trying to lay out, like, here are your options, and these are the different routes you can take. You know, you don't want to show that you have a preference one way or the other. And it's funny because when you talk about them, it sounds like latex is just way better.
It is. The print quality on Echo Solvent though is so much better. That's the only issue.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, there are issues.
So as a trainer, you're like talking about it, and it's like you're feeding them all this information, and then you'll get like the one guy in the back. He's like, "So latex is better."
Yep.
That's what you're saying. It's like, no, I'm not saying. It's just it's
my perspective. It's one of those things. I saw it through. I've been to a lot of different shops. I kind of saw how they operate, and in the end, if you can do your pros and cons list.
The reason I said that was I think it's interesting that you brought up the fact that you're taking a chance because of the off-gassing process. You're taking a chance of you getting contaminants.
Yeah, a higher chance.
Yeah, I don't even think that's something that we talk about.
Yeah,
I mean, you know what I mean? Like that's not even if it is, that's lower on the list. I don't know that I've ever heard it actually.
Well, and even then, when I used to do a lot of on-site installs, I mean, back in the day, I traveled a lot. That's why I got pretty quick. But you would notice when you were doing an install and it was just gooey and it tacked. And when you heated it, it acted different. The colors were different. The way the material stretched was different. Corners would curl before you even added heat.
Sure.
You knew either it was oversaturated in ink because they were trying to compensate for banding. So they oversaturated the panels, or they didn't let it outgas long enough because the print got approved that night. And it had to get installed that night. So they printed and said, here you go.
Every when Ego Solvent came around, that everybody was talking about, oh man, it's gonna be so much better. It's gonna be so much faster, more efficient. It's like, it's really not. Yeah. It takes time, man. You gotta let it cure out. Now I will agree with the colors they're
nice.
Dude, it's not even close to the same. But Jamie Mulliken at Wrap Artist, he runs 3 HPs, right? Okay. Now all 3 he's got them. He brought in like a color spectrometer and he dialed them in. I mean, they're as tight as you could probably get them, but they're still a little off, right? They're still a little off. But his colors are good. They look good. I mean,
we had to change the way we printed.
Yeah.
So we export a lot of stuff as JPEGs now, and then we would add the cut path after. We were getting truer resolutions. It just helped. Definitely playing with your profiles is key. It's tricky though because every time it does jam or it goes down or HP comes in, they're messing with it then again too. So it's like, I'm starting from scratch. Let's get this thing going again. So it is always a little bit of a headache when things like that happen.
You know, it's funny because as we're talking, it's like I'm watching you kind of bounce between each one of these roles. Like you're talking like a print operator. Oh yeah. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I didn't even get the installation yet. I didn't even get the installation. Yeah, that's the game we play. That's why even coming here and seeing everything, I'm like, I can feel your pain. Yeah. And you didn't even have pain. You said you're smooth right now. I'm like,
everything's pretty good.
It's funny because I relate so much. You were talking about like how like your time limit behind the computer. Like I feel that so hard. Like with, editing like any kind of video we do or just like designing stuff or like
tough.
Even the tool stuff. Like
what's funny though is Josh is pretty organized on like, if you were to open up even like his desktop and like how he organizes his files and everything. And I'm a fucking mess, dude. Like when he'll pull up one of my files. I'll send him a file, something I've designed, and he'll open it and he'll be like, dude, what do you have going on? Your layers.
I used to be like that. Mess. I'm not gonna lie. It took me some time to get more organized because I started learning that when I was teaching it, I was lost.
Sure.
And I'm like, man, if I can't teach this, then I'm doing something wrong. So that's when I started really getting into my processes more.
But the difference is I can sit down behind a computer for 8 hours and it not even faze me. I can get on something and just stay so dialed in and focused and just plow and just pound on it. Now, when I get done, it's going to be a fucking mess. There's going to be stuff off the artboard and like all over the damn place.
You're also not a shortcut kind of guy.
No, I'm not
at all.
He's a drop down menu guy.
Not at all. There are some shortcuts that I'll use, but like I see it was
copy
funny.
and paste.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Or undo, Control C or something. But I started on like Sign Lab. You know what I mean? So I was on Sign Lab, Sign Wizard, and FlexiSign long before I ever touched Illustrator.
FlexiSign was so hard for me.
Yeah,
I don't
same
know
for
what
you,
it was.
Josh.
I don't
He
know what it
hates it.
was. It was
still
like
is.
Windows. What was that? Paint on steroids, and I just couldn't. I couldn't. It was just like I don't know. I think
Which one did you run into first, Flexi or Illustrator?
No, I learned on Illustrator.
Okay.
Illustrator and Photoshop. And then I struggled with Illustrator to start because
Really?
I was so bitmap heavy on everything that I just wanted to stay in that realm. And then some of my professors were just like, you can't scale this. You can't shrink it. You don't understand the systems.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know what you mean. And then little by little, I kind of took that as like a goal. And that's when I just mastered Illustrator. So now every design I do, I don't even have Photoshop on my computer anymore.
Really?
Everything's through Illustrator.
Illustrator.
Yeah, blend modes, everything. My computer, the way I blend photos, the gradients, the way that everything's scaled, outlined, drawn, everything's done in Illustrator now.
Just so we're clear, you can scale on Flexi 100%.
You
Right.
can. You can.
100%.
You can.
Right. And I say that because whenever I was in school, I would design on
Why do you
Flexi.
look at me like that?
Because I know it's I could feel the pain, like the eye roll, like, oh gosh, shut up. So I would, whenever I was in school, they would teach us an Illustrator. I would go home and work on FlexiSign and create whatever the project was and bring it back. And I would produce the image, and I would intentionally make it like because I had a large format printer at the time. So it was like I could print whatever I wanted to at scale.
Nice.
You know, so when I'd present stuff, it would be on like a 4x4 sheet, just blown up, and it'd look perfect and beautiful. And everybody else is like, man, I did mine at Office Depot, and it looks all pixeled out. And I'm like, that's why you use Flexi. You don't use
I think I struggled with that in college too. One of the things was a lot of people had extra time to go to like the computer lab and do all these other things. My parents were great, amazing. They definitely helped me get through school and all the other stuff, but we just didn't have that, I don't know, lifestyle where I didn't have to work.
Sure.
So I've always worked. So through college, always had 2-3 jobs. One of the biggest things was, and I also worked at Boys and Girls Club, lifeguarding. I always worked with kids. So that was one of my passions too. If I didn't do this and run my own shop, I'd probably be a teacher. Really? Or a counselor or something in that realm. I definitely love that route. I'd love to see people get inspired and teach.
That's
Cool. That's why I'm real adamant on potentially becoming a trainer.
Really?
I like just being able to see people's light bulbs just light up. And that's, for me, it's key.
I've been thinking about sharing the trainer journey a little bit more, because people say that a lot, and it's great.
There's definitely ups and downs.
It is challenging.
Yeah, I can
man.
see that.
It is challenging, especially working with a big manufacturer.
Yeah.
Like if I was doing it independent, I don't think it would. I think I would. It'd be kind of like this, right?
Yeah,
Like it'd be a whole lot more laid back, and I could really dial it in. Which, I mean, I've been talking about doing something with racing, and just because I grew up racing, like the whole installation thing was about racing. Like it's just kind of it just means something. It means a lot more to me than when you go way back. You know, like I don't think I could work. Like this year, my wife just happened to fall into the head. I think it's head coach for cheerleading.
Okay.
And just like listening to her talk about the kids, there's no way. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, I'm assistant coach. When I coach my kids, I'm the assistant coach. For basketball now, I am the head coach, but it's more like in-house. It's not like travel and all the other stuff. So we're not there yet. Again, I don't know if I'm going to pull that trigger yet, just the way the business is going, because I don't know if I have the time for it. I definitely want to make sure if I commit to something. That's another thing with me. If I say yes, I'm 100%
All in. Yeah.
All in. Like there's not a half. I'm not going to go 50-50.
Right.
But I definitely weigh my options before I make that commitment.
Yeah.
But once I do say yes, and sometimes I say yes at the wrong moments, but I will go 100%.
Well, and you've got 2 daughters, right?
2 daughters and a son now.
2 daughters and a son. Okay. But your son is young?
3.
3.
Yeah.
The youngest of the 3? Okay. Yeah. So I'm an assistant coach for my son's basketball team. And I feel like with the boys, it's a little bit easier for me because, like, if you say something that's like borderline inappropriate, you know what I mean? Like the other dads can kind of look over it. And generally, I mean, there'll be one mom every once in a while that just like, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't say that. You know what I mean? So you kind of have to like manage that a little bit. But as an assistant coach, it makes it a lot easier because I'm not really in charge.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. Even during softball, like I didn't have to like be in the front lines. I was actually like in the dugout hanging out with them. Yeah. I was more like a friend.
Right.
You know, we would chew bubblegum and like just kind of talk about the game. But I liked it because like instead of them zoning out and like focusing on other things, I keep them engaged. Yeah. Let's cheer. I mean, I didn't learn any of the cheers. I'm not really good at that stuff, but I was there, like, kind of like, let's get into this. Let's get into this. So
we had one kid, man. He was such a good basketball player. Terrible attitude, right? So he would get put on the bench with me a lot, you know, and I could talk to him, and it really felt like, you know, I made an impact. But it was one day we were sitting there and he's frustrated. You know, he's 10, so he's pissed and he's mad at the head coach. He's explaining to me, and it was like it hit him like, wait a minute, you're just like him, man. Why am I telling you? You don't understand, you know? And I'm like, no, I get it. Trust me. Come back. We're good. We're good. We're gonna get there. And it was cool. It was a good, good experience.
I think the kids need that too. They need somebody they can relate to. Definitely is going to push them in the right direction. Not just agree with them, but agree and then guide them. So that, again, working at the Boys and Girls Club, and we did camp counseling for summer programs.
That's cool.
Lifeguarding, all that. Growing up, we loved it.
Together? You guys do that together?
Yeah,
That's cool.
Yep.
Yeah,
So it was neat, man. And again, those experiences, they definitely molded me into the person I am now.
That's cool.
It's even the way I kind of teach my kids on how to like be more involved. I don't want you to get so isolated in the moment that you're not understanding and grasping everything else going on in the world. Definitely be all ears, all eyes, look at different perspectives. Don't just focus on one, because you can get so like, I don't know, caught up in the moment. You're not really thinking about everything else that's going on. So like, I want my kids to understand that and can relate to different topics.
Public school though is a little that's probably where I was leaning towards when I said that about Dana, because even with cheer, like those girls kind of want to be there.
Yeah.
It sounds like, I think, you know what I mean? Like for the most part, they kind of want to be there, but like public school teachers, I guess that's probably more what I was saying. Like it would be really challenging.
Oh yeah.
To work for public schools, because there's a big portion of those kids that don't want to be there. They didn't ask to be there.
So my wife was a teacher for 10 years.
Oh, that's right. You did say
10
that.
years.
Yeah.
So, and then now I finally convinced her to join the business.
So you get it. So you completely understand.
Oh yeah.
Like I couldn't imagine, you know what I mean? Because I will say that about training for wraps is, for the most part, I'm going to say 85% of the time, those people want to be there.
Yeah.
They're either paying or they're working for a company, and it's like it's close enough. You'll get some fillers every once in a while where you can tell, like, maybe his dad owns a company and like he doesn't, he's just trying to make his parents happy because they paid for college and whatever.
Those are the tough ones.
Yeah, those are tough.
Those are the tough ones.
Because they don't care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They know they're fine. They don't got to worry about it.
It doesn't even matter,
Yep.
right? They're really passionate about something else, but they don't want to tell their parents, so it's just like, whatever. They paid for me to come out here, right?
Yep.
And you could just feel it. It's tough, and it'll bring down a class too.
It will. I mean, I actually got really lucky. I got to sit through when I got to work at 360 for a little bit. I got to sit through an Avery training. I got to help out Charlie Trujillo. He came over in Houston. That was neat. Get to kind of see how they did it, and I was hands on with them too.
Yeah.
I didn't just sit back. I was a GM at the time there.
Sure.
But I got to get in there, kind of teach them how to do some corners, some angles, and even to this day, some of the students that went there, I mean, they still reach out to me. And I kind of like, cool. I talk with them. I'm like, hey, anytime you have any issues, let me know. I can definitely guide you in the right direction. And they're like, hey, when are you going to host a training? I'm like, I'm not there yet. Yeah, right. We'll get there. We'll get there. That's a whole system and process.
So you moved into the house. COVID hit.
Yeah.
You're doing it.
Yeah.
And then at some point
man, I think one of the hardest parts is, how do you go from being a solo kind of run shop to a team? And that's me. I mean, I played sports growing up. Then I coached and dealing with kids, and you really got to see how a team brings everybody together. So I think my mindset was team. In 2025, I'm going to focus on me. I have to change the perspective. I think if I do that and I really hone in on who I am in the industry and kind of push it in a certain direction, and people can kind of see that, I think the team will follow. So I kind of have to change my mindset a little bit, because back then I was really pushing the team as hard as I could. I mean, when you looked at their paychecks and my paychecks, it was night and day.
Sure.
I was giving everything to see if we can build this. And then when it got built, then everything would kind of.
Filling the gaps.
Yeah, exactly. So I was trying to get to there. And then it just kind of like blew up in my face. We were in the middle of the addition. We had the team. I brought in some really good individuals. I mean, we were pumping out work. And then everybody kind of just wanted to go solo and independent. And
Did they have experience before they came?
Some of them did, some of them didn't. I'd say their experience was probably beginner levels, kind of getting into the reins. But I'm big on, if you tell me you're in, we're in. Sure. Like, I'm going to find the people. And in the time, I probably didn't even know a lot of people at the time, but I'm going to find them. And we started finding these other people. We started networking, and we started building up that kind of camaraderie where we were that shop. Like, we could take on anything.
While I'm thinking about it, Josh, will you bring up his Instagram real quick? I want to the photos that I was talking about. I want to make sure we show those, because now when I think, because I before we met, I'd seen that photo. Do you know the one I'm talking about? There's like a very specific type of photo. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see.
I guess I just do it. I don't know.
Yeah. Let's come down just a little bit. Maybe up. I don't know.
Hang on just a second. All right. Which ones? I'm kind of deep in it. I went into it a little bit earlier.
It looked like it. You were down in there pretty good ways. All right, go back up just a little bit. So this one on the red Bronco, I think this was one of the first ones, maybe, or it's really similar to this.
Kind of in front of the garage at the angle.
In front of the garage at an angle, kind of low.
So we used to have the garage door wrapped, and I plan on wrapping it again. I just haven't had time. Time is the biggest kicker. When you're working on your own business, time is it. So it was kind of our billboard. It used to be green.
Were you taking pictures in front of it?
Yeah, so that was kind of our thing.
Yep.
So we're trying to build that back up again.
So I think I seen those before we actually met.
Okay.
And so when you were describing your shop, I was thinking, I was kind of putting the two together, and I was like, I wonder if that's the same person. Because, when you're on Instagram, it's hard to, yeah, like that one, where the white truck is, the GMC. Like for whatever reason, this picture, like it's good. I like it. I think it looks good. It's memorable. I mean, it's something about that.
So the type of work we do, I mean, we try to go more commercial, but nobody around us really does that kind of high end detail stuff.
Okay.
So we kind of dabbled back and forth from both, and I'm really attention to detail. So it's tricky for me to just say we're going to go all commercial or we're going to go all custom. Then the PPF world started taking over. So we started dabbling into that. And I started noticing when I was putting all my time and effort into color change, it just wasn't lasting the way I wanted it to. Where we live, we just have so many different elements. I mean, we get snow, salt, landscape trucks dropping rocks all year. So if I wrapped a color change wrap and the front bumper was white and we changed it to like dark blue, I'd give it like 3 months before you had rock chips just shut up the whole entire thing. And it started to bother me. And I'm like, you know what? What else can I do to help protect that and make that last longer? So PPF was the game.
Got it.
So that's when I started getting into PPF. I'm SunTech, 3M, and XPEL certified now.
Were you doing both? Were you wrapping it and then PPF?
So then we were doing the full color change wraps and putting PPF on the front. But what I noticed with SunTech and 3M at the time, this was about 5 years ago, I just wasn't happy with the finish. There were certain things that just weren't sticking and things like that. The training was good. I just felt like it was like a 2-day kind of thing, and it just wasn't enough to really grasp it. And I'm the guy. Like there's nobody else to go to.
Were you doing it at a distributor?
Yeah.
So you go to the distributor and they do like a...
It was good. The 3M one I probably said was better than the SunTech one at the time.
Gotcha.
But then XPEL there was an opening to get into XPEL, and I was just like, man, I got to take this. I got to take it. So I actually flew me and 2 of my guys out to San Antonio. And we took the training there, and that was a bigger eye opener. I mean, by the end of it, I felt confident in what I was doing. Yeah, it was nice. And the product was great. The way the support was there. So when we came back, we just hit the ground running.
What would you say were the biggest things that stood out to you about the class?
They didn't sugarcoat anything. They really just told you like what it was. I mean, this is how we do it, and if you do it like this, you're gonna be fine. And I think that helped me mold the way I train people too. It's do it. You're gonna stand here and you're gonna pull this way. The kits are made to start here and finish here. Don't think that you're going to become some sorcerer. We didn't design the kit to do that. If you do that and you make it work, kudos to you. But this is the way we want you to do it.
Got it.
And even in their trainings, they don't give you a blade. They don't want you pulling for corners and cutting it. They want you to use their kits. If you take that next step up, that's on you. You can kind of master those skill sets too. But they really say, hey, if you're paying for this software and this material, we're making it to work.
So they were really driving home processes.
Yeah,
you
that was
use
key.
The software, use the So once you're set up to go,
you should be good to go.
You can duplicate.
You're gonna have to learn. I mean, these hoods nowadays. I mean, they're crazy. You have to bulk these hoods.
Well, that GMC, those the 2500 GMCs with that.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
They're tricky.
Yeah, it is.
They're tricky. I mean, you have to become a mechanic.
Yeah,
I think that helped me too when I split the shop as a mechanic, was just learning because they would take the cars apart for me. But then when I went and moved, I mean, it was me.
Yeah.
So it was like one of those things. And one of the guys that I did hire at the time, he was one of the mechanic's brothers, so he did know some of that stuff too. So we were just kind of taking them apart. I'd say sometimes we took them apart too far, because then you had to calculate time. Time is the biggest part of these wraps. I mean, if you spend 2 weeks taking a car apart, wrapping it, and putting it back together, where's the profit?
Right.
So if you can do it in 3-4 days, 2 days, 2 people, and
Margins
you master it, I mean, you're killing it. And that's where we really got into a niche there. Where I mean, the last one I just did, I think I only took off the handles. And I wrapped the entire thing. I did the Snow Camo F350.
I've seen it.
That's it. I only took off the handles. Everything else was wrapped on the car. And I mean, it looks so clean that it looks like it was taken apart. It looks like it was taken apart.
It looks good.
Yeah. That was designed, printed, and installed all in-house.
Yeah?
Yeah. I designed that camo because they kind of liked one from, I forgot what manufacturer it was. But they liked kind of the way the pattern was. So I was like, you know what? Let's kind of mimic that. Let's go with these colors. They didn't like too much white. They wanted more grays. They wanted deeper tones. They didn't want black. So it got a little tricky with the design. But once we got it all down, I was like, listen, if we just ordered one that was already pre-printed, for me to make it flow around the vehicle was going to be almost impossible because I like to wrap a little bit deeper.
Yep.
So the moment I moved the panel and I tried to wrap deeper, like the doors, they weren't going to be there, or I would have to cut flush and just make it work. Like it wasn't going to, I was like, no, I'm going to customize this. So we really customized the entire thing and kind of, that back tailgate was one piece.
Yeah,
I did that one in one piece.
Well, and then one of the other things that stood out to me was like you almost did because the front and rear bumper got wrapped too, right?
Yep.
And they were chrome before, I assume?
Those were painted.
Were they painted? Okay.
Match, yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
So I was wondering why you wrapped, because I was like, man, that looks good. That looks like a, like you would do like a chrome delete, like a color match for bumpers and stuff. Yeah. So
no, it came out really clean. Client was super happy. Yeah. It's one of those things too, and we're trying to push the envelope. I always like to talk to the client too, like, what are you looking for? It's tricky because now she does a lot of quoting.
Sure.
And a lot of times she'll quote something. I'm like, man, that was not it.
Yeah.
That was not, this is custom.
Sure.
But once she quotes it and they agree to it, I'm going to deliver. Like that's the way I go. And little by little, that's why I want to send her to some trainings too, kind of understanding and talk to the client. Because if I talk to every client every single time, then I'm not doing the work.
Right.
And that's going to be, it just gets too complicated.
Sure.
So we're trying to find that nice balance. I think we're there. We're getting there.
This side of is that what you were talking about? Is that what the split is between? So you've got one garage door facing one.
Yeah, the other one's the addition.
Is the
longer one is the addition.
Yeah,
so yeah.
So you have your setup in your garage. Yep. The garage that was with the house.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's where production, design, that sort of stuff is, and then all of the installation is back outside. Okay.
Yep.
And so you were set up. You bought the house. You're doing your thing. Business is good. COVID comes, and then it gets a little challenging with multiple guys.
Yeah, I'd probably say it got a little tricky. More so trying to figure it all out and balance it. And again, I think the hardest part is if you don't run a shop outside of where you live, everybody kind of sees that element and they're like, I can do that. I want that. But they don't see what it took. I mean, it took 10 years to get to there.
Right.
And 10 years to be able to hire employees.
Right.
I think the hardest part is everybody can see what they can do. And I know what I can do. But how can I teach it and get that person to stay and let's grow together? That's the mindset I'm trying to get to. But I think this whole next year, I think I'm just going to focus on, like I said, more me this year.
Dial it in.
Let's see what happens. And then I'll see if the right person comes along.
Yeah, maybe because the shop looks great.
We're doing all right.
I mean, it looks good. Everything looks nice and clean and tidy.
Yeah, we try, man. We try. It's tough. I like you said, you were sweeping when you got here. I'm always sweeping something. 3 kids, I'm always behind them. Like, hey, let's get the vacuum. Let's do this. What are you doing? Why are you eating cornbread over here? You should just do it over here. Like, let's get clean. So, I mean, with my guys, I was on top of them too. Sure. Like, hey, you come in at this time. Let's get the day started. Let's work from here to here. And at the end, let's just spend 10, 15 minutes cleaning. Let's not just leave. Yep. Like, don't open a panel unless you know you can finish it. Yep. Now, don't tell me you can't finish the panel in 45 minutes, that you stop working 45 minutes early. But, definitely tack a panel and let's finish it. Don't leave anything just kind of dangling there.
Sure.
That's not good. Like, the adhesive changes overnight. Like,
100%.
You don't want to mess with that. So, definitely getting them in the right mindset. I think we really nailed it on. We were going. We were moving. We were growing. Everything was moving smooth. I think we would have been the shop. I think we still are, even though now it's more me shop.
Yeah, right.
We're still there. I mean, the workload is there. We're pushing. We have the clientele, like I said. And I think bringing her in was the biggest key. So starting next year, she will be the new owner of Bay Image.
Oh,
I will be the employee.
Congratulations. That's
I will be the employee.
That's cool.
Yes.
So you were doing PPF, color change, and commercial wraps.
Yep.
And then you had mentioned that you had maybe a couple guys leave. Is that what?
And we were also doing detailing and ceramic coatings.
Same space?
All that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we it's tricky because a lot of the cars, before we bring them in, they had to get clean.
Right.
Where we live, I mean, the salt just picks up on these cars. So bringing in a detailer was key to get the cars prepped before we even got to it.
Yep.
So then coating started really taking off. And it was like, okay, well, if I can have him prep the vehicle and coat it, why not? Let's make that a full-time job, not a part-time. So we started doing that more. But then I would also like cross-train. Like, okay, hey, if you can do that, now you can at least put the decals on after, like DOTs and things like that. When we're all said and done, then the car's out. And I'm a big adamant on the car has to leave better than it came in. So if you bring me a car, we are always vacuuming the front driver's seat. We are cleaning the entire car every single time. And we're putting floor mats. We're giving you the tags, making sure you're well aware of everything that you got done. And you're always going to pick up a cleaner car than you dropped off.
Sure.
So we have certain price tickets.
That's a lot of work.
It
man.
is.
That's a lot
It
of work.
is. But we kind of changed it to where we have certain price tickets where we won't just do like little jobs. Like I don't really do chrome deletes anymore. If you're going to add a chrome delete, it's going to be to a full color change wrap.
Right.
Because every space I have has to be calculated. I can't just have a car lingering there. It doesn't make sense for me. I'm not going to bring a car into the garage unless it's going to make this price ticket.
I get it.
It just doesn't make sense for
Right.
where we're at. So, and a lot of people didn't like that, and I get it. But we kind of fine-tuned and refined our processes to where we have that clientele now where when they call, they know what they're going to get.
Sure.
And they're not shopping around. When I give them a price, it is what it is. Let's get going. And then once you drop off, you know you're going to get taken care of and you're going to be ready when you pick up.
Yeah, no, that's big because I've seen guys go in and get a door decal put on, and the guy just clean where the door decal is going to be, right? Just wipe off that little section and plug and play. Yeah.
And then the soap is dripping down and all that.
And I get it. Like, I understand where they're at,
Yeah.
right? Like, you're
Yeah.
paying me to do this,
Yeah.
so that's what you get, right?
It's tough.
It is tough.
It's tough because then the other issue I ran into is sometimes I'm not the one taking the picture at the end. I'll have somebody else take it. I'm like, you took a picture and you posted that?
Right.
No, like, I want everything that when it's done, it looks clean. Even the surrounding areas, I try to clean up around it when we're taking the pictures. Let's sweep. Let's do these certain things. So when it gets posted, it looks done right. Like that's what we're trying to deliver. And if you can set that standard, then it just resonates. So that's what we're trying to do. Yeah.
No, I like it. So you had said at one point you went to Texas.
Yeah.
When did that happen?
So I'd probably say
And why? Because I love Texas.
it was.
I don't know how you came
I
back.
did love Texas. I wasn't coming back. I wasn't coming back. That's one of those topics that's tough.
Yeah.
I had no plans on coming back. When I left, I shut that door for Bay Image. I did. I shut it. We kind of stopped operations. We started selling some of our stuff. I sent out a mass email. My clients hated it, but
You were done.
I was, but I wasn't done in the industry.
Okay.
I was done with, I guess, trying to create a team in such a small area. So I was like, man, if I can take what I know and apply that somewhere else, I don't see anybody stopping me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not possible. Let me go be that employee that I'm looking for. Let me go be that guy and take what I've learned and apply it somewhere else. So I had a great opportunity at 360 Wraps to go become the GM in Houston.
No way.
So they flew me out a couple times. I got to see their Dallas headquarters. I mean, it was something. It was something.
Yeah,
I
I've
mean,
heard it's pretty sweet.
yeah, it's hard to explain, but when you walk in the doors, you just feel like you're at the right place.
Yeah.
So
They've got some pretty big clientele too, right?
yeah,
Like
they do.
Yeah.
They do. They have fleets. That's where it's big in Dallas. So we were trying to do that, and after talking with them, we were trying to do that in Houston.
Is it Tommy? Is that who it is?
Tyler,
Tyler.
Tyler,
Okay, yeah.
yeah,
Was
Tyler.
it Tommy? Tommy and then Tyler, maybe? I don't know. Either
I'm
way.
not sure.
Okay.
Maybe Tommy was the original owner.
Maybe.
Yeah, but Tyler was the one that brought me in.
Josh, can you pull up 360 Wraps?
Yeah, they brought me in. I mean, coolest guy ever. Brought me in, felt like family right off the bat. So the main goal, and I kind of talked to him just like this. I told him what I want to do. We saw eye to eye, and it was one of those, give me an opportunity and I'll prove it. Like, I'll prove it. It is what it is. You're going to put me in the right position. I'll make sure we grow.
Was GM, was that right position?
Yeah, I'd say so. It was a little tricky not being in Dallas because I went to Houston then. Houston, they had a lot smaller setup that we were trying to grow.
Got it.
I'd say in 10 months of being with them, we did a lot of growing in Houston. So it was really nice. And again, it hurt my soul to have to leave. It was one of those things like, I don't like promising somebody something and then having to back out.
Sure.
That's not me. It hurt. Like it was probably one of the toughest conversations I had to have.
Did that happen? Did you promise somebody something?
I mean, I told them I wasn't going anywhere. That's why I came to Houston. That's why I joined them. That's why I was willing to pass on what I built.
When you say them, you mean your customers? Is that what you're
No, just 360 in general.
Oh, 360,
That company, I'm big on if I'm going to say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. So when I joined them, the idea was let's grow Houston. Let's try to get it as big as Dallas. There's definitely going to be some hurdles, but let's go all in and do it.
Did they just have the two locations? Was that
So they have Dallas, they had Houston and Cali.
Cali? Okay.
Yeah, Cali was a little bit of a smaller operation than Houston, but in Houston they had 1 to 2 guys there, kind of back and forth, more of an installation location.
Got it.
We were trying to push to be more production heavy, and at the time they were kind of buying one of their competitions to kind of grow Houston. So it was like now I can manage all of that. So it was a big eye opener, and then I was excited. So we kind of started doing that. I got to know everybody. I got to know their processes, and we really started growing. I mean, it was huge. I really liked the direction we were going in. The communication was there. We were pushing. It was cool, man. I actually got to teach, and then I felt like that company could bring in the type of employee that I could then teach. you know, because they were fleet ready. They had everything ready to go for these fleets. Houston was, I mean, I'm coming from a little town in Poconos to moving to Houston, and it's so populated. They got 8-lane highways packed like sardines. You couldn't even move during times. So it's like when you have that much workload that you can potentially get and tap into, why not? You know?
But you felt like that even so that setup seemed like it attracted more quality people.
So for me, that was the biggest. That was the biggest one. It was like, man, if I can get the right people in these doors and I can train them up and teach them what I know, and then they have everything in place. They have the designers. They have everything else. And at one point, I was even designing for them too in Houston. So I was designing, helping them install, helping them get everything kind of going. I mean, they had a system though. So I'm not going to say I came in and created this for them. They had that. I was just helping them apply it in Houston.
Sure.
And I think it was working. I think it was working really well. Just getting to get in with their sales guys and becoming like brothers, really. It was neat. It was a cool process. And I think we were really pushing. I think we were going to do something great. And I think that was probably one of the hardest conversations I'd have with Tyler was, I got to go back.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I kind of kept an open book with them. The biggest part of me moving on, though, was also selling Bay Image. Okay. So I did have a potential buyer that was taking over. They said they had installers, they had designers, they had printers, they had everything to kind of take it and run with it. Again, not a crazy big operation. So to do that, you know, when somebody says they can do it, I'm like, you know what? I trust you.
Sure.
They said they were coming from a more of a mechanic style shop. They did paint protection film. They did some digital media stuff. So they had all that ready to go. They just didn't have a me.
Sure.
They didn't have it. And it was really tough because then they were messaging me nonstop, like, I don't know what we're doing. We don't know how to get to here. How did you do it? And I'm like, man, I did that solo. You guys have a crew of like 4 or 5 people and you can't do it.
Sure.
And it was starting to struggle. And then they kind of backed out of the deal. And they left my property vacant in the Poconos. And I was like, man. And I still, to this day, I told her, I was like, man, like if we're in Texas, it's meant to be. Like that's how I felt about it. But the potential buyer made one comment to me. And then she looked at me like, you're going to let him say that? He said, if I'm going to let Bay Image die, now it's on me because now I own it. And I was just like, and she's like, you're not going to fight for that? And I was like, I don't know. Something just switched. When that switch happened, I had no regrets on any decision I made going into it. But I sat down with Tyler and I said, I got to go back.
How did he take it?
He took it pretty well. I mean, like I said, I kind of kept an open book with him about like potentially having to go back. It was one of those things. I kind of told him, I was like, if I make it a whole year here, like then that's it. Like I'm golden. Yeah. We were about to hit that year mark, and then all that started happening back. And I had clients personally reaching out to me, and that was like the biggest one. They were finding. I mean, I gave them all the contact list, the designs, and everything over. And then for them to find me like on social media and be reaching out like, hey, are you coming back? Like we just need our work done. And I'm like, you know, it was tough.
Yeah.
But then if I went back, like I didn't have that same support system that I was getting used to here.
Sure.
So I was like, man, what am I going to, like, I'm going to go back to what I already knew. I don't know if that's right for me. I didn't have that answer. And that's when I looked at my wife and I said, hey, if we go back, you're joining me and I'm going to teach you everything I know. And
yeah, because she had a career, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it is, I mean, it sounds a lot like it's your show, but I mean, at the same time, she's you know,
she's behind the scenes. She is the behind the scenes.
Got the kids. And then
teaching 10 years, that whole 9 yards. And we literally had a heart to heart. And I said, listen, if we come back, you're taking control. I'll be the best employee you ever had. And it was one of those things we made that choice when we came back. I mean, I drove back from Texas 27 hours straight without stopping.
No way.
Yep. Because Tyler Dunn was able to sell me some equipment that they had because I was starting the shop from scratch again. And he was moving locations. We were actually moving into a bigger facility. And he was, you know, we talked and he was like, man, you know, we got some stuff that we're not going to have to take to the other spot. I'm like, I'll buy it off you right now. And he kind of, you know, he's the reason I was able to reopen.
Really?
Too. So that's why I give kudos to him 100% at 360.
That's cool.
That's why I'll never close any doors. I try not to burn any bridges. They were a really cool company to work for. But yeah, without them, I probably wouldn't have been able to reopen right away.
You think, because he's the owner, right?
Yeah.
You think some of that was because he knows? You know what I'm saying? Like there's kind of like an unwritten thing or like I don't know, man. I can just, when you see another entrepreneur and you know they're working their ass, you know what they're going through, and it's like you can feel it, you can relate to it. And there's times where you almost just need to step the fuck out of their way, right? You know, like sometimes
it was tough, man. Like I said, it was a tough. He actually came down to Houston and we were talking about the growth of Houston at the time, and that's when I had to bring it up to him. And it was a tough one. I mean, we talked for a while, and it was one of those things, and I was like, man, I kind of outlined the story, and then in the end, he kind of understood.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you run a bigger shop like that, and you understand there's hurdles.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hurdles. You might have tried to open this branch and had to close it.
Right.
I mean, that's what they were doing. But it was one of those things where he could kind of see it in me that I had to go back.
Yeah.
I had to. It wasn't.
cool.
It was neat, and that's why I praised them all the time. Like anytime they ever need anything, I'm definitely there.
Didn't he was he doing the inserts there for a little bit? Was that him? The GMC inserts? You know what I'm talking about?
That's Chad.
Chad.
Oh
And
yeah,
that's
yeah,
he-
that's
that's he
360.
know,
Same
yeah,
company.
yeah. Chad was actually the GM for Dallas.
Okay.
Yeah,
Got it.
real
I
cool
knew,
guy.
I knew there was something there, but
Yeah.
but okay. So that if I didn't know anything else about Tyler other than what you just said, I would. I mean that's pretty badass.
Yeah.
Really. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
really cool
it's
guy.
tough. It's tough, like keeping your composure when you're losing like an A1 guy. You know
It
what
was
I mean?
tough. It was. Again, it's one of those things where I say, like, when I make a commitment, I'm all in.
Sure.
I'm all in, and I don't like to back out of anything.
Right.
And that was one where it really took somebody else threatening what I built for 10 years before that, and saying that if they wanted it to burn, they would let it burn, and they didn't care. And I was like, man, that's not.
Yeah,
that's
ain't
not
it.
happening. That's not happening. And then now, I'm not going anywhere. So Bay Image is
Yeah,
tattooed
that's
right here.
cool.
So this is actually when we got married. My first daughter, second daughter, my son. And you know, it's all tied in.
That's
We're
badass.
not going anywhere.
Yeah,
So
that's cool. Good
yeah,
for
so
you.
now we're growing this thing, and you know, I'm trying to push in the right direction. I'm trying to see what we can do, and that's kind of the route we're taking.
So you came back,
Yep.
right? Went to Houston. You learned some stuff,
Yeah.
right? So you're
Yeah.
coming back as better, stronger, more wise, more prepared. What do you
Yeah, I definitely say more prepared to take on what was next mentally. I'd say the business needing to see if it could flourish back again. A lot of clients, I was worried if we burned that bridge by accident. That, you know, we didn't mean it. It's one of those things I kind of had. We wrote the letter. We tried to finish off all the accounts we could. We told them if they ever need anything, let us know.
So were they still operating as Bay Image, the other company?
Kind of. They did like a Bay Image, what do they call it, customs or something like
Okay.
that. They had a different LLC, so it was never actually the same business. They had a different. So I was still technically owner of Bay Image the entire time,
That's
of the version I owned. And then kind of they changed the branding and everything. It just wasn't working. So when I came back, when I drove back that 27 hours straight, I actually worked on the sign. That was the first thing I did. It was a sign of like, I'm back.
Yeah.
You know, so
A
no sleep.
rebrand.
Yeah, no sleep. I came back 27 hours. I started working on the sign right away. I was there for 8 hours just working on it.
Yep.
And everybody thought I was crazy. I'm like, listen, I need to make sure people know like I'm back. So kind of put my foot back down and we worked on the property. We fixed it up a little bit. And little by little, we've just been kind of grinding.
When was that?
Last May.
Last May.
So about a year and a half now.
About a year and a half.
Yeah.
When you came back, you brought equipment with you, right? You said you got that
Yeah,
while you were in
I was able to get a printer and a plotter.
Yep.
Then I had to go out to Jersey and get a laminator.
Got it.
Just kind of going until I kind of reopened all my accounts. That was before I even said I was back.
But when you get back, right? You're moving your whole life, right? Like
Yeah.
you moved out, now you're moving back. You're bringing all your stuff, so you got to set up homes, get the shop set back up the way you want it, and everything. When you came back, what was your go-to? Were you pushing color change? Were you pushing PPF?
No, man, it was commercial.
Was it?
It was
Yeah.
commercial. It was actually a blessing, I'd say. It was one of those things where I kind of said I was back. I just sent out a mass email again saying, hey, I am back. If anybody needs anything, let me know. And the response was like nothing else I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah, it was an eye opener. And that's why I always say, I mean, I'm a big believer in karma. Do right and good things will happen to you.
Sure.
Treat people how you want to be treated. And that's the way I look at things. I don't ever treat anybody or disrespect anybody. It's always, hey, how are you? If I can help you in any way, let me know. And I'll do what I can. If there's something I can't do, I'll explain to you why. Sometimes time restraints and things like that, and family first. But other than that, yeah, I will never treat anybody disrespectful at all at any moment.
And
It's just not.
you think that had a lot to do with
I
when
do.
you came
I
back?
do. I think I took care of every single one of my clients. I showed them that I was there. I showed them that I cared. And if there was ever anything, I always took care of it. So that resonated. And I think that was the biggest eye opener when I came back was, man, it worked. I mean, that's karma. It works. I mean, it's one of those things where I took care of them. And when I got back, man, they took care of me. So
what do you think your split is now? Like as far, like, are you still doing PPF?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to balance it. I think I'm going to push more commercial.
Okay.
Because when I'm on commercial, I can step away from it and get back to my computer or deal with the client when I have to. When you're doing PPF, I mean, you need to get in the zone.
Right.
You can't be distracted. You got to finish that panel 100%. Again, you can leave it to where edges are drying, but you cannot just stop mid-panel. You have like a 5 to 10 minute window on panels. So it's one of those things where I started getting faster at it. But then again, you want to make sure that quality is there. And it's not about speed in PPF. It's always about quality and making sure you're taking care of that client. And explaining to them, like, I ran into a little issue where once I left Expel, they pushed kits. I mean, kit, not extended, just kit. And then when we started delivering that, the clients wanted extended. I mean, that's what they wanted. They wanted corners wrapped. And I came from a color change background.
I didn't think about that. So when you left and came back, was there any weird stuff there with Expel? Because I mean, it's all territorial, right? So
it was. It was a little tricky. I kind of lost Expel and got it back.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of those things I kind of told them, hey, I'm back. We were actually going to try to push Expel in Houston. That was going to be the next big push too. I was kind of, and it was tricky too because Avery and even 3M, I told them, hey, I'm not here no more. So like my zone was gone. And for me to get that back, I mean, it took so long for me to just be relisted and things like that. And it was one of those tricky parts where some people didn't take me serious. And I'm like, oh, I wasn't getting listed. Like people weren't being able to find me where I was at anymore. Like the bigger companies that I installed for, my name was no longer listed. The company wasn't there. So you missed that part of how much you were able to build in that location to where people just trust that name. And
Yeah,
now
it sounds good to just say, all right, I'm going back. I'm gonna do it. But you're kind of starting over a little bit. You know what I mean? I mean, you got some good foundational stuff there, right? Like you knew the shop and like it was your place, so you could kind of fall back in. But at the same time,
it's tough.
You got to build back.
And then you don't know which direction you want to push in. You don't. Again, and I reached out to some of the people that did work for me before, but I'm like, man, I don't know what the future is yet. Let me kind of see. Like if you're willing to go this route, it's going to take some baby steps, but we can get there. I know we can if you're with it. But if you're doing your own thing now, keep doing it. Like I'm going to push it, and I'll promote you and whatever you want to do. So a lot of the people that I did train, they now do their own thing. They do their own thing. My detailer does his own thing down in Florida now. One of my installers runs his own installation company too, and I'm proud of them. Like I promote them all the time. We use them on services when we can. My tinner, he also started his own tint shop too. So it's neat. It's neat to see that they were able to take what I kind of pushed and instilled in them. And every once in a while, I wouldn't say we talk daily, but every once in a while when we do talk, it's a good conversation and kind of saying, hey, how are you? Like, let me know your struggles. And if I can help, I'll help.
Sure.
So
how does a Poconos work? Like, is it a town? Is it a?
I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm not even going to lie.
Because there's a racetrack up there, right?
Yeah, it's Pocono Raceway. Yeah.
And so is that a big part of the community?
I would say it is. Pocono Raceway is huge up there. I mean, and then kudos to my wife. She's actually got us the Pocono Raceway account. So now,
Is that a pretty good account?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be.
It's neat. We don't work on the race cars just yet. We work on like the facility.
Sure.
We do their cars. So we did the military tour awareness. We did the pace car for 2024. We did two or three other ones as well. And then we did a couple of like their bar setups at the racetrack and things like that. Before that, I've never been to a NASCAR racetrack.
Really?
Yep.
Have
Never.
you been to a race?
Never. See, so my son, they actually gave us tickets to go to the race this year. But my son has tubes in his ears.
Okay.
So it was one of those things. And we tried to take him to a Monster Jam where you put the headset on and it wasn't for him.
Yep.
So it was one of those things that he loves cars. I mean, so I didn't want to take my first experience and not experience it with him. So I was like, I'm gonna wait till next year. So next year I'm gonna go with him and we'll kind of experience that together. So I think it'd be
that's
neat.
cool.
Yeah, he should be ready by then.
So at least you're into. I mean, you're looking forward to that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Cool.
I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Any kind of racing? Have you tapped into any sort of?
I don't got a need for speed.
No?
I'm not a heavy foot guy. I just
Sports though?
Yeah. I play basketball and baseball.
remember you saying
Yeah, and that's what I coach my daughters in both of those sports as well.
Gotcha.
Definitely huge into that. I just enjoy it. I think being team captain helped in high school too. Just kind of running the team and helping people kind of understand like, hey, it's not always about you. It's about how can we work together. And I think that for me is still lingering. It's probably one of the hardest switches I'm making for 2025 is kind of turning that off and trying to just focus on us. I mean, I still have a team. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Me and my wife, we have another part-time guy that kind of comes in and we do work. I just don't have another main installer or like a main designer. We do have some contractors that we do use. But like I said, 80-90% is me on there. So it's a lot.
That's a lot.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Because I mean, even if you do get a commercial install come in, right? You figure even if she sells it, lines up everything, when it comes in, you're cleaning it, you're taking it apart, You're designing it, you're printing it, laminating it, cutting it, installing it, finishing everything.
Yep.
And while you're doing that, nothing else is going on.
That's where I always had that tricky part, because if I'm working on the now, then who's working on what's next?
Right.
And that's where I kind of wanted
Now the
to build
jobs
the
are
team.
coming,
Yeah.
right? Because she's, she's going to be.
She's learning now.
Yeah.
I mean, she does a lot of the production now too. She helps with the printing and the laminating and the trimming. And then
thing
my
you-
part-time guy does the prep. But
both going to be busy. Before too long.
we thought about it when we were down in Orlando. I mean, we got to meet a couple of other people, and they're like, "Man, we could teach her." And I'm like, "I mean, I could teach her too." I don't know. I kind of liked, and again, seeing that at 362 was pretty key. Is like people have their roles, and when they're good at it, I mean, things flow. And being good at those processes definitely helps the business grow.
Sure.
So for me, another eye opener was, man, if I can get her in a role where she can manage and run the next, I'll just handle what's now.
Yeah.
And then we can just keep on going.
Keep moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So, talking about Orlando, do you do that much? Do you go to the?
I don't. I've never had time.
Yeah.
I've never trying to grow the business. I mean,
sounds like it.
yeah.
Sounds
when
like
I
you're a
when I
little
put
busy.
it when I put it all, and I say I put everything into the business, I put it all into the business. I mean, we went from everybody being contracted installers to cash installers to payroll, insurances. Everything was like 100% legit. We did everything we could to make it a business.
Sure.
And then I think the people saw their paychecks after taxes and all the other stuff getting taken out, and it was just like an eye opener to them with their insurances and stuff. And I'm like, that's real life.
Yeah.
I don't really know what you guys want me to tell you. Like, that's how it works. But look at the amount I have to pay you.
Right.
Just because this is what you take home doesn't mean that's not what I paid you. For them, I think that was also a disconnect.
So they started as contractors and then
Yeah.
they went to hourly.
Yeah.
So
So
it
that
felt
was-
like they got a pay cut.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
it was tough, and I had to pay so much more too just to get it to go through the door. And that, I think that was also like a tricky part. But I also did incentives too.
Okay.
Like, so if they hit certain numbers, or we try to create this point system too. So every week I'd say, hey, this job is worth this, because I'm not the type to say, hey, there's a trailer. Everybody only wants trailers because the square footage is higher. No, if you got a big trailer, that's only worth like 2-3 points, because I know how many hours it actually takes. If you do a color change, I'm giving you 5-6, even though the color change took longer. And then if you hit your point total, then you get more pay at the end of the week.
Got it.
So I kind of split it up as far as being, and that's where I think our business has a great potential to be amazing, because I kind of look at it from every perspective. I'm not just coming in as a business owner. I'm coming as a business owner who also designs, who also installs, who also does tear down, who also does the coatings, the paint correct, everything, the PBF. So if I ever did get a guy in there, I feel his pain of getting paid. Like, I
Sure.
want to make sure he's getting paid right.
Sure.
And I try to make sure that once they develop that skill, by all means, it's there for you to take. It just takes some time to get there.
It does.
Like, I didn't get to where I'm at overnight.
Nope.
It takes time. So if you're willing to put that time in, by all means, let's get to work.
How did you now you said you've taken some classes. You said you went to some classes. What about the shows though? Was that the first
Shows
one
is
that you've
new.
been to?
That's all to her.
Yeah.
That's all because of her. So when we got back, she started kind of getting her reins in the business and kind of doing her social media due diligence. And hey, why don't you go do this? Why don't you do this? And I'm like, well, what time? Well, what time? And she's like, hey, you told me that you wanted to bring me in. Let's make this time.
Make time.
So I think the biggest eye opener then too was I finally got to go to Avery Dennison had their master wrap advanced training
yeah. I've seen it.
in Georgia. So I got to go to that. I got to go to
Miller's.
the first one. Yeah, I got to go to the first one.
At Miller
Yeah.
Decals. Yeah.
So with
Justin and John.
Yep. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
Just getting to wrap with them, getting to do some chrome. Now before that, I've done a lot of chrome.
Sure.
So it's one of those things, like where I'm at, no one does chrome. Doesn't even exist. Like, nobody knows what it is. So for us, I think I'm
I
on
seen
my
her ride. It looked good.
yeah, I'm on my like 6th or 7th full chrome wrap.
Nice.
So it's pretty neat. I mean, again, other shops, don't get me wrong, they probably blow that out the water.
Sure.
But from where I'm at, nobody does chrome. So it's pretty neat. All our personal vehicles, my truck is silver chrome. So we always have, I've done my Silverado in teal chrome. Her Escalade was in purple chrome. All different brands, Hexus, Avery. We don't really dabble in like tech wrap and stuff like that.
Sure.
It's just nothing to bash on them. But
Right.
it's one of those things that's just, I want it to last a little bit longer, and
Yep.
the install, I want it to be really clean. So her vehicle is fully done in Hexus rose gold.
And it looks good.
We were gonna do Avery, but
the
Avery was out of
reflection.
stock, man.
of
They
the-
were out of stock at the
of
time.
that color, the
Yeah,
rose
the
gold?
rose gold. So we did it, and it's fully protected in XBL PPF.
Really?
The whole entire thing.
I knew it. There was something when,
Yeah.
I was like, golly.
Yeah, the whole thing. So you don't got to worry about scratches and cleaning. And then it's all ceramic coated too. So you're talking about a high ticket item there. Yeah. But it works. It does its job.
All the emblems are blacked out too. I seen that.
Yeah,
That looked clean.
yeah,
It looks
does its
good.
job. It
Yeah.
does its job.
So, man, I bet you get stopped all the time with that. I mean, people just And silver chrome too, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good
It's
for
pretty neat.
Yeah, good for business.
It is. It's great. I think one of the trickiest parts is a lot of people tell me, why do you brand in so many different ways? Because I do. I brand in a couple different ways.
What do you mean?
I don't really say we just do color change. I don't say we just do PPF. I don't say we just do detailing. Where we're at, it's really hard to do those things because when you just brand in one way, people don't know how many other things you offer. So with our vehicles, they're really custom. The way I did them was, the reason I go chrome is it catches your eye.
Right.
But then they're not just chrome, they're chrome and they're branded. So now people know, okay, that's a wrap. No, you're not painting chrome. I'm sorry, you're just not doing it.
Right.
So when people see it on a car, then they automatically refer to, oh, that's wrapped. They obviously wrap because now there's a logo on it and that brand on it. So right away, that when they see it driving down the road, it goes, that's a wrap vehicle. That's their logo. Most likely they installed it.
Sure.
I'm hoping that they can see that and kind of pick that up.
Put it together.
Put it together. And then I don't really have to do a lot more other than that, because when you see that right away, what you're going to do is you're going to Google the name and you're going to refer to that. A lot of people don't. I mean, a lot of people do like the scan QR code things, but honestly, to get your phone out and try to get a picture of a moving vehicle or even take it out, you kind of feel a little awkward sometimes to do that. But if you see the name and it's quick and easy and you can remember it, you're going to Google it. Or you're going to search it. And word of mouth is definitely key too in what we're doing. So people can see the quality in it. So they know, okay, that's not just another wrap shop. They're actually putting in on themselves and they're branding themselves. If they're willing to do that much in their name versus the other wrap shop down the street who just isn't willing to put that effort in, I want to go to them.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how we've been able to grow.
I got it. No, and it looks good. Like I said, it looks killer. And now that you say that, I don't think that it was like overwhelming. Like, I don't think like your brand's not all over it, right?
Yeah.
Like, no, it's clean, right? And I thought so. I'm going to go back and double look now. So I got to check it and see, but.
Now, my truck personally has a little bit more branding on it, but hers, I don't want people stopping her too much. I mean, it's already an eye catcher. So you're going to see it. You're going to get it. You're going to get it right away. I think probably one of the trickiest parts is still maintaining it to be clean.
Yeah.
We probably wipe it down like two, 3, 4 times a week just to keep it. Yeah. It's coated and everything. You still got to wipe it down.
Sure.
You know, it gets dirty pretty quick.
Dirty, yeah. So you went down, you did the thing with Justin and John. I'm sure that was cool just to hang out with them.
It was so neat.
You know what I mean?
So neat. And then just the other people you get to meet too.
Sure.
I mean, it was one of those first experiences they had there. And it was cool. One of the contractors I actually used when I was working at 360 was there.
Okay.
So I knew another person there. Real cool. So just getting to kind of see the industry from a different perspective too was neat. Certain people looked at me like, oh, you got to work there. You were doing this. I'm just another guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? For me, I'm just another installer going out there trying to do my thing. So that was pretty neat. And then just kind of getting people to kind of reach out. And I did reach out to Avery and I said, hey, man, I would love to become a trainer. I'm not even going to lie to you. The way they promote, the way they push it, again, they have a crazy workload. Sure. Everything's all over the place. But I eventually, like, that'd be my main goal. I mean.
Did you get any kind of response? Did they?
Yeah, I did. That's how I got to go to the conference down in Orlando.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, WSCT. That's how I got to go down there. They actually sent me down there to compete. That's cool. It was cool. I honestly, it's crazy because that was probably the first time I ever had to compete in anything. Definitely an eye opener.
Have you ever been to a show like that?
No,
I don't. Graphic show or because even I was trying to think, what was that show? Remember the it's RapsCon, but they do it in different locations. Is it GPX or something? There's
Graphics Pro.
Yeah, Graphics Pro Expo, I think is the name of it. And so they would do, of course, they did RapsCon every year, and it was kind of really honed in on raps. But they would go around different parts of the United States, and they would have shows that were, just more about graphics, or they would do T-shirts and stuff like that too. Yeah. So it was a little bit of, it wasn't all about graphics, but you could still go to one of those shows and check them out. And then like ISA and then
it was tricky, man. Like I said, at the time, it was all trying to grow that business, and time was, especially when we started having kids, it was hard to get away.
Sure.
You're trying to manage it, you're trying to hit the numbers, you're trying to get everything flowing. It was kind of hard to look at it from a different perspective and step away.
Sure.
Run the business, not be the business.
Right. But WFCT, the reason I said that was that show was kind of hard for a lot. A lot of people didn't even know that show existed.
Yeah.
Especially in the rap industry.
Yeah.
Because, it's really, it's a...
window film.
Yeah, it's window film, yeah. So it's interesting that was your first. You know what I mean?
It was neat to go to. It was a cool experience.
It was a good show, too.
Yeah. It was definitely neat.
I enjoyed it. I was really surprised. They did some really cool stuff there, especially like the PPF, the way they laid out PPF.
Yes.
That was awesome. I love that. Yes. And in the window tint, I didn't get to spend as much time with window tint as I would have liked to, just to see how the ins and outs of it go. But I mean, what did you think as far as PPF? Like that was,
I think that was set up perfect.
dude, it was killer,
And
right?
I think the wrap portion of it is going to get to there.
I think so, too.
I think we're
I
going to get
hope
to there.
so.
Yeah.
Hope
I'm
so.
definitely competing next year.
Yeah.
I'll be back.
At WFCT?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll be back.
I hear, just take it for what it's worth. I hear that RapsCon is doing something, and
Okay.
I've heard the number like 15,000 getting
Nice.
thrown around a little
Nice.
bit, and I've also heard that they're kind of like you have to kind of like WFCT. So, like you said, Avery opened up that opportunity for you to
Yeah.
go down and do that. 3M opened up the opportunity for me to go and do
Nice.
that, but it's not mandatory.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was just kind of like you could get sponsored by a big brand and get the opportunity that way. This, I again, it's just hearsay. Hear people talking about it. They're just making it sound like it's going to be you'll have to get in that way.
Okay.
So they're really limiting. It sounds
So the
to me
competition is going to be
it's going to
up
be
there.
tight.
Yeah.
It's going to be
Neat.
tight because it was some guys down at WFCT that had never rapped before that were in the
Oh, wow.
competition. You know what I mean? They were just there like, hey, let's
Yeah.
give it a shot. Let's see what
Yeah.
happens. You know?
That's tricky too.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate their ambition. You know what? Give it a shot. See what
I wish
happens.
we could have got to rap a little bit more.
100%.
A little bit more.
Yeah.
Like, give me a bumper. You know what I mean? Everybody's scared of bumpers. Give me a bumper.
Something.
You know, give me a bumper and a mirror. Give me the full front end.
So Kevin, I ran into Kevin at SEMA, Kevin
Okay.
Kemp, one of the judges. Yeah. And so Kevin was about to start on an Oriful hood.
Okay.
And I'd just done it. Right. So I'm standing back and I'm watching. When I seen him walk up, I'm like, oh, I'm not going nowhere. Right. Because
You're going to watch this.
we're going to watch this.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to not only going to watch, I'm going to talk a little shit while
Oh,
we're doing
yeah.
it. So as he comes up, he's getting prepped, you know, and first thing I seen him do is
Put that music on.
put music on. First fucking thing I seen him
Get
do.
in the zone, man. They wouldn't let us do that.
So I reach over. You're not gonna put a headset on, are you?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah. I was like, hold on. Didn't you tell us you should be able to like hold your composure when a
Yeah.
crowd and all that stuff? And he was like, you know, and he took it good,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Kevin's a good sport.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that being a new competition down there, so I understand where they were
Yeah.
coming from. You know what I mean? They were trying to structure it in such a way that, you know, they're putting some pressure because, I mean, realistically, I don't know how many contestants there were, but they made it challenging. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was.
I think it's going to grow. That's why I'm
hope so.
excited to keep competing in it.
Yeah.
It was cool to see Charlie win.
Man,
That was
cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And stuff came out good.
I like Charlie, man.
Yeah, it was good.
He's in the last year. I've kind of gotten a little bit closer with him, got to really know him. And,
Yeah, cool guy.
You know, you see him from a distance. You don't really, you know, he's kind of hard to read, but getting to hang out with him, we hung out a lot in Vegas. And
Nice.
So yeah, it was cool.
I think we're going next year. We're trying to make a commitment to get to SEMA next
SEMA?
year. Yeah.
Have you? Well, you had never been.
No. I've been to Vegas, but I've never
Yeah.
been to SEMA.
SEMA's a different animal, man. It's massive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're a car guy, it's even crazier because it's anything and everything car that
We were planning to go before all that other stuff happened, man. I was going to take my whole team.
Yeah.
We were going to go. We were planning on going.
Well,
man.
the rap portion of it over the last few years has really grown.
Yeah.
So now we've got like the West Wing or whatever, and it's essentially it's bigger than pretty much just that wing is bigger than every other rap show that you could go to.
Nice.
I mean, it's really we've kind of taken over at least half of the West Wing, so it's wild, dude.
Yeah.
And that I'm trying to think of a good way to compare it. It's just massive. It's just so big because there's the West Wing, and then there's north, south, east, and then the central location. So it's just huge. So it's like there's 6 or 7 shows going on all at one time. It's all around automotive and manufacturing, but it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
Dude. Yeah.
I'm excited.
Like I
gotta
said,
get
if you're
there.
a car dude, man,
Yeah,
it's
I got to
like
get out there.
tires, wheels, suspension, from the ground up, everything. And even like new stuff, innovative stuff. Like there's people out there with products. Like I always get pulled into that. Like I like finding people that do little, the crazy stuff, like the infomercial stuff you see.
Well, I got to find out that you make the knife tucker.
Yeah.
That was neat, man. That was pretty cool.
Dude, that was actually really cool. 3M came in clutch with that. They let us set up a banner at the booth and everything. Like that was fucking cool.
Yeah.
I was not expecting. I say that I brought the banner. So right.
I mean, we got to.
I brought the banner to the show, so I can't say that it was 100% surprise, but it was one of those things where it was like I didn't know if I was going to be able to, because the show might have been cool with me just putting it up over in the corner or something and just it being there. I don't know. I kind of brought it just
That's neat,
speculating.
man.
But yeah,
That's neat.
3M was cool, and I got some really cool pictures of like it with the booth and everything, and they were super supportive. And I'll say this though about the window tint people. Window tint community.
Careful now.
It's a strange thing, and a lot of it's got to do with what you were talking about, like the territorial thing. So like once you're given a territory, that becomes your territory, and you're kind of a little, this is my space. You know what I mean? And I don't want nobody else in that space. I don't want no competition.
You have to work hard to get it. It's not easy to get it, and then you have to maintain it.
But that's period.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like that's any business. You know what I mean? But like here where we're at. There's there's a barber. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but there's a barbershop right here. There's two of them right across the street from one another. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so it's like
there's also a wrap and sign shop next door.
Yeah, right next.
And the mask guy has a mustache.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, is
It's
this
not me?
I was gonna ask you. I didn't know if I wanted to ask you on the podcast, but I was like, wait a minute.
And the owner doesn't have a mustache. Just so we're clear.
Yeah.
He probably saw you walking by. I was like, that's good, Brandon. I'm gonna
like
use
where
it.
this guy's
I'm
at.
gonna use it.
But like I think, regardless of, and it's odd to me that manufacturers do this because if you're a good business owner and you're good to your people and everything that you've said about your business is true, you're gonna be all right.
Yeah,
you're gonna be all right, and that has nothing to do with them, right? And if your guys decide that they're gonna open up a shop across the street tomorrow, if they're not doing what you're doing, they're not gonna stay in business. So them thinking that they have some sort of control over that by saying, "Oh, we're giving you this territory." You didn't give me this territory.
yeah, it's tough.
I earned this territory. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The things that you're doing are not easy. They're hard. Like I said, most people aren't washing the entire car. They're damn sure ain't vacuuming out the inside of the car. That ain't happening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're not doing that.
I know.
I'm not. I will. If they won't pay for it, I'll vacuum that shit out quickly. I'll wipe the windows down. I mean, because I owned a car wash at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we did it. But I wasn't changing the oil. I wasn't checking air pressure. You know what I mean? I wasn't doing this. And that's not to say that somebody that does, I mean, that's great. But your customers need to know that they're getting that service.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And every full wrap at my shop gets boosted. Every single one.
And that's
every single
what's a
one.
bottle cost you? Is that what you're
We buy a wholesale. We get 5 gallons, so we rebottle it, and we actually, on top of that, we actually give every client a bottle when they pick up. Every single one.
And do you market any of that? Do you
We don't really promote it that much. It's more of one of those things where what I started noticing was people weren't taking care of the wraps, and wraps were getting a bad name, and it was driving me crazy, especially in my area. I mean, you had your local guys that were kind of just doing whatever, and they weren't educating people on their wrap. And then you had me kind of doing everything I possibly could, but yet the client still wasn't taking care of it. And I started noticing that those two were going hand in hand, where these other shops that just didn't care, and then some of the clients that just didn't care once they did get it done, no matter where they got it done, there was like a misconception of what a wrap is. So I was like, no, I got to solve this in my area. I have to fix it. So now every full wrap, I mean, you get a decal package, you're not getting it. But if you get a full wrap, we're giving you a bottle of either Triple S or XPEL Boost every single time.
Triple S ain't cheap.
It ain't cheap.
It ain't cheap. Justin ain't giving it to nobody.
It ain't cheap.
Especially in California.
I'm still trying to work on getting that wholesale. I'm working on it because I used a lot of Triple S.
Yeah, and it's a good product.
It is.
I like
It's
Triple
great.
You hear that, Justin?
It is great. It's a great product.
Yeah.
He knows I've asked him.
Yeah.
But it's a great product, man. And it's one of those things where a lot of times when people leave too, they don't know how to maintain it.
Right.
They're not getting educated on how to maintain it. So we're actually creating a brochure now on how to kind of clean your wrap after.
Yeah, that's cool.
Certain soaps and solutions to use. Please, no automated car washes. Please, no. And even if you pick the right soap at one, that does not mean that the nozzles in the machines cleared out to put the right soap on your car. So carnauba wax and all the other elements that are hitting your car, and even those bristles that are on there, they pick up all that dirt, and now they're just slinging all over your car and scratching your car up. And then you come back to me later on, and you're like, hey, what happened to my wrap? That had nothing to do with me.
Sure.
Like, don't try to blame me on that. So we do everything possible to make sure that, because I put a lot of work into getting these things done right.
Sure.
So if they're done right, I want it to last.
Right.
That's just my new, my mindset. I want it to last. And again, I know it costs me a little bit more up front, but in the long run, they're coming back.
Right.
I mean, every single one of those clients, they're coming back.
And they're word of mouth, right? They're talking to their friends. Generally, business owners run around in groups, so they're going to say, hey, who wrapped your stuff? Why does yours look good? Why does mine look like shit?
And it's funny because, I mean, every once in a while, one of them, they'll stray away. They'll stray away. Oh, this guy was just cheaper. I mean, they just opened up. I knew him from high school. I went to them. 3 months later, they're back. Hey, just take my account back.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know how you properly market that, because in the grand scheme of things, they're probably not cheaper.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
they're going to cost you more money.
Exactly. With all your services that you're with your services that you're offering. I had a really good conversation with V from Hexus at SEMA. And for anybody that doesn't know V, he's a super nice guy, man. He's super laid back. He's very professional, and I do think a lot of him. But we got a chance to talk, and one of the things he mentioned while we were talking was that Hexas, if you go down and you take Hexas's paint protection film class, part of their program is that they're not necessarily giving you a territory, but what they're saying is we're going to promote your business within 60 miles.
Okay.
Right. And so I've never heard of that. I've never heard of anybody doing that.
Yeah.
Right. And then like he took it one step further and he was like, yeah, so, and if you're buying more film than somebody with inside your radius, of course, you're going to get more exposure than the others. And so it's kind of a tier program. The more you buy, the more that we're going to help you grow your business, right? Because you're supporting us, we're going to support you. And he just kind of said it all nonchalant. And I'm like, dude, I don't know if you know this or not, but I don't know if anybody else is doing that.
It's one of those things, man. I
don't know how he markets that. Like, I've never heard it.
It's more of you're spreading a word of mouth, and it's just like you're telling the client, hey, I'm there for you.
But you know Hexas, right?
Yeah.
Did you know that they offered that?
I didn't.
Does that make you rethink maybe going and getting your body fence certification?
It does.
See what I'm saying?
I'll tell you that.
And as an instructor,
Yeah.
that's where I'm thinking like, man, this is really good. Like, if more people knew that, they'd probably go and take that class just to get on the people's radar.
Yeah.
You know, and especially in the retail side of things, because
it's tricky, man. I mean, we joined Expel because of the name.
do they allow that, by the way? I don't know. Is that a thing? Because they're funny, right?
They are.
They're a little.
But I do multiple things. I don't just do like I only sell Expel paint protection film, ceramic coatings, and window tint.
Okay.
So when it comes to those different processes, that's all I sell.
Okay.
But I
Is
do
that
commercial.
because of them or because of you?
No, them. That's
Them.
how. Yeah, you got to.
It's strict,
Yes,
right?
you have to sell their product.
Yeah.
In those avenues, and I respect it. They promote. They are. They promote.
Okay.
Yeah, they're known in the industry. I mean, they help us out a lot.
Like lead driven, like they're driving people straight to you.
They would if I was in a more popular area.
Okay.
I'd give them that. We do get some leads from them, but really our leads are word of mouth, and my clientele just spreading it, just because of where I'm at. Again, I'm not in a heavy populated area.
Gotcha.
I don't know how we do the numbers we do and where I'm at because there's just nobody out there.
In no way, shape, or form is this me promoting Hexas whatsoever, right? I just want to make sure that we're clear on that, right? Yeah. I do want to draw some awareness to it because as we were standing there talking, it was one of the guys that he's I can't remember, Hexas certified or whatever, body fence certified, whatever. He said, hey, Kevin, I think was the guy's name. Hey, Kevin, how many leads we send you a week? He said, easy 5. What do you mean 5 leads a week? He's, yeah. They whatever they do on social media, their thing, you know. I got people calling me 5 times a week.
What?
Every week.
Well, where's he at?
Washington. I want to say Washington. I could be wrong. He's one of the trainers. Now,
I honestly believe like if I was in a more heavy popular area, we would get a lot more leads.
He said 20 to 25 a month. If one of those are full body. Yeah. One of those are full body, it's worth it. You know what? Now I say that. Now I'm not a Hexas. I'm not promoting them at all. I thought it was interesting, and I think that more people kind of need to be aware. Like, hey, look, this is what you're up against. But I say that to what you were saying. I don't know how they market that. I don't know if you can market that.
It's tough. I mean, we do get a lot of calls just because we are Expel, though. Sure, I will say that.
Yeah. But I mean, as far as like the services that you're offering, like I don't know if you can market that. You know what I mean? I don't know if you can say how you say that. You know what I mean? Because
that is tough.
Yeah, but it is a great upsell.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like the fact that you're doing not even an upsell, like just like a.
And we love the product. I mean, I have nothing against the product.
No, I just mean like the extra work you're doing as far as like washing the cars and cleaning things. I think that's cool. I think I think your customers need to know that.
It definitely spreads. Again, because we're heavy word of mouth. I mean, a lot of people say that. A lot of people say it. And then we promote with our vehicles. We literally use vehicle advertising to promote our business, and that's what we do. I think next year I am getting 1 billboard. Pretty neat, kind of promoting the shop and myself as a certified installer. Because I think a lot of people just go to shops and they're just like, oh, they wrap.
Why billboard? That's interesting.
Because like I said, we're in a small little town, and people drive by like our location all the time. But I think getting people to actually step in the door is one of those things where I'm trying to break that mold. Where it's like when they do step in, they always like you can see them creep through the door, and they're just like, oh, this is legit. Oh, all right. Okay. But to get them to do that, I kind of want to personify the person now and say, hey, come. Now you at least you know the face
So-
that you're
Dude,
gonna come into.
Billboard makes total sense. I think
Yeah.
about it at least once a day
Yeah.
for
I-
the
well,
podcast.
I've been talking about it for 10 years now, though. Like
A billboard.
I sent a picture to my detailer who's now in Florida, and he's like, "About damn time, about damn time."
What's
and again,
wrong-
not a crazy big one, but it's something. start.
Have you looked into them?
I did.
What's the average cost that you?
So we're in a smaller town, so the one I'm getting is kind of affordable. But we did have a lady come by and kind of give us some pricing on some bigger ones, and I mean, what was it? You're paying like $1,000 a week.
$1,000,
Like a week.
4,000 a
Moly.
month.
Yeah, you're paying like, and I think that was for the ones that like change. That's not even for like the permanent one,
Gotcha.
structured ones.
I
Which
feel
is
like
that
I would want like a actual banner
Sure.
rather than
Well, what they say is though, the ones that change though, they can give you like 3 or 4 locations then, and then it'll flicker on and off. But I'm like, man, what if that one person that you really wanted drives by and that's not up there
They
at that
misses
time?
it,
And I'm
yeah.
like, yeah. So,
But it's a numbers game, right? Because
It
they're
is.
playing on that guy's going to drive by that
Yeah.
thing,
Yep.
so many times a week, and
and that's why the one I picked. I mean, again, not a crazy big one. I'm not gonna say, oh, I'm this guy that but the where it's at, it's like everybody kind of drives by my shop from one direction, really, and the other side, if they're driving fast enough, they don't see it. So that's the direction I picked it. So now if you're coming, it's like a mile down the road, mile and a half.
so it's close. It's close. by.
Yeah, it's like I'd probably say like a mile and a half, 2 miles down the road. But now you're getting that kind of like glimpse, kind of attention, and then when you get to the shop, now you're gonna be like, oh, those correlate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me go there. Let me stop
So
it.
I wanted to ask you about this. I wanted to know. There's a little bit of a negative stigma about the shop at the house thing,
Yeah.
right? You know, and you hear a lot of people talk about it. And we had I don't know if you watch the podcast or not. You should. Great podcast. But we had Mike and Haley were on.
Okay.
And they own an installation company. They do color changes and stuff. Mike's become a good friend of mine. I like Mike a lot of respect for Mike. He's a good installer, hard worker, passionate about the industry. He's also a veteran, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
But Mike he almost was a little embarrassed about working out of his house because of the negative stigma behind it. And he talks about the struggles about, people dropping their Maserati or their brand new BMW, and they pull into a neighborhood, and they'll call him and they'll say, "Hey man, I'm here at your shop.
Yeah.
Is this your house?" And he's like, it makes him feel kind of
It's tricky, man. I think for us, a lot of people, the way it's set up, because so our house was actually a commercial builder's home.
Okay.
So it's on a busy street. It is on a busy street. And the way the sign is set up and everything, when people come in and they actually pull up and they go into the office and they go into the garages, they ask, who lives in the house? All the time. They don't really realize that it's connected or that we live there. They actually go shop first. The whole setup is shop first, then house. So you're not actually coming into a house and then the shop is behind it. You're really pulling into the shop. And that's what I love about the property.
so it's not like in a neighborhood. You're not pulling in.
No. We actually have no neighbors.
Oh, really?
Our pizzeria that is, his name's Avni. We call him Tony. He owns Bono Pizza. Little shout out to him. He's like a grandfather to my kids now.
Yo, eat a
I
lot of
swear.
pizza?
Oh my goodness. The kids play on the playset and they order
Yeah.
pizza from him. He brings it over. They don't even deliver. He'll come over to my house with pizza and drop it off. It's
That's
amazing.
cool,
It's
man.
amazing. His son is my part-time guy
So
that helps prep the vehicles.
No HOA. You're not.
No, none of that. No, I get to modify my property the way I want.
Really?
Yeah, I like
So
it.
I guess it has to be a commercial property.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, it's commercially zoned. Yeah, that's why we bought it. That's why when we were searching, that was the key element in everything. And actually, when I bought it, I didn't even know if I could build that garage in the back.
So is it? I guess it's a little bit of. Is it both? I don't know how that works.
Yeah,
is
it's
it-
residential commercial.
and commercial. Okay.
Yeah, but right now everything's more commercial because we did everything for the business. So like loans and everything like that, we were trying to get everything has to be commercial now.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but
Does it ever make you a little nervous about people coming to your house?
I'd say in the beginning it was a little weird.
Because
Trying to figure
my
things
wife
out.
is super private, man. Like she
Yeah,
doesn't want anybody
I mean,
at the house.
That's how we are.
ever,
And then
you know?
I think one of the biggest focuses I've had is making when you're coming in, it be the shop first, and then understanding there's boundaries on it that you can't cross. So we put up certain like fences and signage and things like that. Like don't come anywhere past this part. Like
Right.
we had to.
Yeah.
And it's funny because she says it all the time. When we're closed and somebody comes to the shop, I am the meanest person in the world. Like, I don't know. I just get like this, I'm off. If you come at like 6 or 7 at night and we're closed and I'm in dad mode, I don't want to deal with anyone.
Right.
I shut that off. Like I said, I have to shut it
can
off.
flip that
Yeah.
switch,
So once I flip it, I'm just like, no. What? Even a client dropping off. We have a really nice drop box that we have. We tell people where to park in, put the keys in it. Don't bother us. And sometimes they'd have a question.
Sure.
And I'm like, we've already talked about all this. Like, can you just come out? I'm like, no. Like, I'm in dad mode. That's it. Like, I'm not here. If you want to talk about it, you got to come between 9 and 5. So we have like strict hours. We don't do weekends. We do not do weekends. The only time I will work on a weekend is if like I have to get a project done. I'll go in the garage and do something on a weekend, but we're closed. Like 9 to 5 is our hours, and I'm real big on that because after 5, I coach. I take my girls to basketball or softball, and I'm there with them, and we're doing stuff. We're being more of like family oriented, and I want to keep that. I don't want to be that dad that worked. I mean, technically, I work 8 jobs.
Sure.
I don't want to be that dad that does 8 jobs and is never there for them. So I want to make sure that I'm able to shut that off. So that's key for me.
I got it. That makes sense. Yeah, because like I said, I've heard a lot of people talk about working from home and the struggle. You know, you hear
it is a struggle. It's definitely a struggle. But we found a nice balance. I think we found a really nice balance. And again, when we had the house and the shop separate, and I was driving to there, I lived at the shop, and I was going to get murdered at one point. So it was like by my own wife, and she was just like, "You better get home." And I'm like, "I got this project. I got to finish it.
Got to finish.
You know, I got to finish. And I was always putting that first. And when you run a business, you kind of have to do that in certain instances to make sure it's growing and it's going in the right direction. And then I was just like, you know what? I can't do that anymore. I gotta combine the two.
So do you ever get the because in my head it's like a dream, right? Like to be able to stop working on a project for a minute, go in the house, spend a little time, and then go back.
People say it is a dream, but it's also a curse.
Sure.
I'd say it's a catch-22 on things like that. I am blessed to be able to do that.
You do it? I mean,
I do it. But I'd probably say I do that more with design.
I got you.
Because during the day, I mean, I'm just installing. I'm installing or printing or dealing with like clients and things like that. And at night, after the kids go to sleep, I'm able to just come back down to the office and just get to work. Like you say, some people go into their basement, something like that. I have my dedicated, it's what, 900 square feet? 900 square feet of garage space is attached. You go in there, it's an office.
It's interesting that it's that way for you. So is there any particular reason that you prefer designing at night versus installing during the day, or... Because I don't really like working all night myself.
Because when you sit at a computer, people don't think you're working. You know what I mean? You're there and you're in a zone and you're just going, and I can't mess up. You can't. I'm the designer. I do the pre-paneling. Sure. I'm setting it all up. I mean, I got to make sure all my things are checked.
Well, yeah, because if you're screwing somebody over, it's yourself.
Oh my God!
Right?
Yeah,
So,
it's brutal. It's brutal. And then when you hit print, you're like, everything's going good. Everything's clean. All right, perfect. And then I can walk away. And then she takes over from there. Yeah. But it's one of those things where it's like, if I miss any one of those steps, or somebody comes in and I'm designing, and in my head, I got that half hour or an hour, and somebody walks in and they're just like, "Hey, Chris."
Oh, gotcha.
Shit. All right. Yeah. I'll be
Whereas
with
you. Installation, it's a little bit easier for you to break off.
Yeah, because I can kind of stop and pick back up, or they see that I'm busy and they'll be like, "All right, I'll come back another day," and things like that. But when you're sitting at a computer, they just want to talk, or they'll come and sit right next to you, and we make it feel like a home. Like our office is very home, warm, inviting, and that's how we want it. But I used to have, so we actually have another room that I have a barn door that kind of slides, and that was my office. But then I was kind of more isolated, and I loved it. Don't get me wrong, but then I wasn't there in the front, so sometimes when people come in, they'd be like, "Oh, what's going on in here? Like, where is he? Where is he even here?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'm here, but like I just needed some time." So I kind of just moved my office back into the main area, and I'm just there now. So it works. Again, I keep telling her I'm going to go back to the back room just because I can get more done. But it is crazy how much you can get done in a day. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah,
it is crazy how much you can get done in a day.
I seen you posted a video not long ago. So you're set up to where you can have 2 cars in at a time, right? Is that right?
So in the clean bay, yes, you can have 2 full-size vehicles in that one, and then you can almost have 3 in the other garage.
So, and that you can kind of weave in between the 2, right? So
I have a door open. It's not completely open, but I do have a walkway in between both garages.
So I think the video you posted, I think you and the camo truck I think was in it, and so you kind of went from one to the other, and you can kind of see all the projects you were working on. Is that common? Are you working on multiple projects at once?
Every day.
Really?
Every day. And that's the now. Then it's constantly what's next. Like on Monday, we have 3 dropping off, and then I'll do Wednesday. Yeah. And that's me driving back from here 10 hours on Sunday.
No way.
Oh, yeah.
So it's very common.
all the time.
And is it a good mix, a healthy mix, color change PPF commercial?
I don't know what healthy means, but yeah, it's a mix. It's a mix.
Well, I would think it would be challenging if you just got hung up on one, right? Because then
it is, because everybody always asks, what's our slow season? We don't have one. We're never really slow. We're always consistent because we offer so many different things. And I really did that because I wanted to create that element of we in the crew. And I can't go back. Like, I can't go back. Like, so we had the tinner, we had the detailer, we had the production guy, we had the assistants with the installers, the commercial, the print. We had all that. So I can't ever go back. Like, if I try to scale it back, I feel like it would hurt what we built. So I just do it all.
Yeah, in your mind, you've already told these guys you do it.
Yeah.
So
I do it well. It's just not balancing my time on all of it. So sometimes when I do schedule certain things, I tell them like, hey, I need more time. Like, it just is what it is. Yeah. I need a little bit more time. I'll probably jump on it at night or on a weekend, but I'm going to get it done. But I'm not going to give it to you until I get it done right, because I just need time. And it's tricky because whenever I think I have everything mapped out is when you have nothing mapped out. Sure. Yeah, absolutely nothing. It's, man, you think like, okay, I'm going to be on this in the morning, this in the printer jams. I'm like, shit. All right, let me get on that. So then you're on this and you realize the guy's picking up at noon. You didn't even get on his hood. So that's why I changed our mindset. We don't do anything small. There's no such thing as small project because larger projects, people understand, they take time. So the quick in and outs, you can't wait. Our shop, you can't wait. It's drop off only. Drop off, pick up. And I might even change it to where we don't have office hours anymore. I'm thinking about it because then it's really like isolates those walk-ins. I don't know. I don't get me wrong. I love walk-ins, but all of our clientele, they already know what we do. The word of mouth, they drop off, they pick up, and they're super happy. The walk-ins are just a little tricky for us because they want to talk to me. No matter how much I educate my wife and that she's talking to them, they want to talk to me, but I already have my day. Those 8 hours are mapped out every single day of what I'm doing.
Well, I think your mind, like your mind is in the right space by, promoting you. And then you probably take this for what it's worth, right? Because I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I would say you being more active on social media and you being the presence and you being able, because I get it. They want to know the person that's touching their car, right? Yeah. They want to meet you. They want to see you.
That's the tricky part.
You know what I mean?
And the reason I'm promoting myself more is I want that trust factor of who's on your vehicle
before they get there.
Yeah, before they get there. But then I'm hoping in my mind that helps alleviate the part of I need to be the one who explains the process.
Oh yeah.
So that way they know who they can trust the moment they walk in the door. Yep. Okay, she can explain it all. She understands it all. Let's get it booked. You know who's on your project.
It helps a ton.
Let's go.
It helps so much.
That's
like
what we're trying to get to.
I'll meet students and they'll say, "Man, I've been following you, and I've heard and seen you do stuff." And then there's always the ones that really are into our content and they really do follow us and they know us. There's always this little bit of lull there, like in the conversation where it's like there's nothing else to say, and it's and for some people they would think, "Oh man, isn't that kind of awkward or weird?" And it's like, no, that means that we're fucking crushing it. Yeah, I mean, because now. With really nothing else to talk about. Yeah. And you know who I am. You know what I offer. You know what's about to go down, especially if you're at a training. Like you know how this is going to go, right? And so they're kind of excited just for that. So it's not, I don't have to do anything else, And Justin's a really good measure for that because when you go in to take a class from Justin, you pretty much know what you're getting. Yeah. You know what I mean?
He doesn't play any games.
No, he's tight. Yeah. He's very tight and smooth. I mean, he's a polished instructor. And he does an extremely, extremely good job. So it was cool to have him on the podcast, sit down with him and, kind of get to for him to,
the bond, man.
Yeah, to hang out and just
get that. Yeah,
it was strange. It took him a minute to get rolling. And he even said that, like, "Hey, man, I don't do this. Yeah, I don't listen to podcasts." So it was cool. But yeah, he's a good gauge of like, for training. Kind of sets the bar.
And and that's what I mean. He's probably one of the biggest reasons I'm like looking towards more Avery than anything, just because he kind of was like the face of building that kind of training program and everything. I mean, then the Rap Institute kind of took over, and he's the face of that. Just kind of having that persona where it's like, hey, I'm still doing me, but I'm doing it in the masses. Yeah. But I'm not changing who I am. Just be you and just
he said that.
Teach it.
He said that Avery allows him to do that.
Yeah, and you just get to teach, and then for me, it's like, man, that's kind of the route I want to take.
And I'll say this, 3M's come a long way with it because even when me and Justin talk, there's times that he's like, they let you do that? You're okay. And it's like, man, I'm just kind of who I am, right? Yeah. I'm going to cuss every once in a while. And it's not because I'm being mean or ugly or unprofessional.
It just comes out.
It's just the way it is. And sometimes that you know, when you're describing something, fuck is really the only word that really describes what I need. You know what I mean? Like it drives it home.
Yeah,
And you know what I mean when I say it, and there's no other way to explain it.
It's funny because I mean, I don't really curse a lot because of my kids and just kind of the upbringing and working in center cities and stuff like that. Some of the kids abuse those words, so you see me pause a lot. So I'm like, man, that sucks.
Yeah,
I just do it, and I don't. And it's something that just stuck with me, just because being in there. Because if I relate to them to a certain level, but at the same time, you don't want to go to the exact same playing field because then they abuse it. So I've kind of taken that role on with them too. So
and that's good. No, that's a good. It'll open up. I'm not going to say better, but it will open up more opportunities for you because it does limit you because it is a little bit abrasive, but it at the same time it's authentic. You know what I mean? Like I don't. For me anyway, you know, I grew up in a race shop, so it was like, you know, if that's the worst thing you hear come out of my mouth, we done pretty good, for the full day. So I don't know. It is. I appreciate what they're doing. I think it's cool. I think they got a good program, and you know, for what it's worth, I think you'd be a great addition, man. I think you'd be good.
I'm trying. Hey, I've been pushing. I'm trying to see like what the right avenue is for me. Like I said, it's one of those things. I love to teach. I like to give back. I enjoy seeing like and it's a lot of people are like, oh man, why would you train them up so much and then be okay with them leaving? I'm like, I'm not really okay with them leaving.
Right.
I wanted to build this team thing, but when you get to watch and see what they're doing, I mean, it's great to see.
Sure.
Like, and as much as they said, I won't use anything you taught me, and I know you're gonna do it. It's cool. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Like you literally post the same way we did it before. Right. Like it looks the same. Like you're taking that and running with it. Again, there's no remorse there. It's one of those things where I'm like, hey, let's grind out. Let's do this. And if I can use you as a contractor, I mean, give me a little bit of a break, man. You trying to charge me the same as everybody else? I trained you. Come on, man. Come on. You know, it's one of those things. I'm like, but it is what
Scott,
it is.
you can go ahead and get that out of your head.
No, I'm not. I get it. No, because
I charge you full price every time.
He charged me more than full price.
Oh, man. He does a great job.
But yeah, that's what I was going to say. Josh does a hell of a job, so I don't mind paying for it. You know what I mean? It's the ones that expect it and they don't bring it.
That's where I'm at right now, man. A lot of my interviews right now are, I mean, and people aren't coming from inside the industry. Where I'm at, there's nobody really in the industry. They're all coming from other avenues. And I think warehouse pay is killing the market right now because some people are getting paid so much to just get kept at these positions, but eventually they're just going to close these warehouses down.
Oh yeah,
like they're all closing down, and I'm trying to tell them that
fast food joints. To the same
oh my
way,
goodness,
just, you know,
you want to use your app today? You want to use your app? And that's replacing people,
dude. It was probably
I had
just got through working a 14-hour day, and I was so hungry. This was while I was in Alabama. It was like the day before, and shit had already gone south anyways. But I was hungry, and all I wanted was just like something. So I pulled into McDonald's, and they were like, "You gonna be using your mobile app?" I said no, and then I started to order, and there's this long pause, and it's like, "We only are accepting mobile orders." What? And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" I was like,
"It's coming."
That's how I know. That's how I know I need to go home, go back to the Airbnb.
It's coming, man.
And go to sleep.
And that's
cook you some eggs. And
dude, I swear, I was so mad.
And I think in a lot of my interviews, I'm trying to tell people, I'm like, I'm training you to do something that nobody can take from you.
Right.
And if you understand that, then I'm giving you an opportunity to grow. I'm not telling you you're going to become stagnant. You might be getting paid this now, but what's the future?
Right.
You know, eventually they're just going to like outsource that.
Yep.
I think what we do here in this industry is really key to get. And I don't see machines taking over kind of what we do 100% anytime soon, at least. Hopefully, I mean, fingers crossed. Yeah. But kind of, you're also learning how to be your own individual, your own entrepreneur, working under like it's almost like an umbrella. You know, you use triangles and stuff like that. But I'm not trying to say it's going to be that because those always go south. But it's one of those things where why not? Let's grind out. Let's go. Like let's see eye to eye. Let's grow this thing.
Man, honestly, like I can't. I've been working with Scott for how many years?
Feels like
9,
ever. I mean, just
8 or 9 years.
Ever.
It's the longest time I've ever been in a career. And hopefully, cross my fingers it doesn't ever end. But
no,
hang on, not that. I'm saying
we heard what you said.
Hopefully, the career path doesn't take a turn and end. But it's been consistent. Like it's never like I don't think I've ever had downtime. Like it's the one thing that like one career that I've always been able to make money at, like regardless of what's happening in the economy.
A couple years ago, Josh took a stint and just took off, sold all his promotional items, went haywire. I mean, just completely. I tell people it's a midlife crisis, and just joking. It's really more joking. But Josh is a hell of a musician, right? He's a great installer, probably 10 times the musician. He's super dedicated. I mean, passionate about it, and so he wanted to go take a stab at it. And when he went, I told him, and I meant it.
Yeah.
He'll be able to go anywhere, anytime. He'll never have to worry about work because of the quality installer that he is. He can walk in any wrap shop. Now I say any, he went by Kevin Kemp's and Kevin didn't use him. It was probably one of the dumbest things Kevin could ever done.
We had a wonderful conversation. Like
it's tough, man.
And then I watch him post, we're hiring, we're looking for help. I'm like, bro, you had one of the best.
Yeah.
Literally walk in your fucking door.
It's tough,
park my RV outside. I'm just kidding. I have my car with me. But
Josh,
yeah,
he can go anywhere. And
even through like the COVID stuff and like we like you were talking about, you were able to pay your employees. The guy that we were working for at the time, like, is the same thing. Like, we had enough work that a lot of people went without getting paid.
Yeah.
And didn't know what they were going to do. But we haven't experienced that yet. And hopefully that keeps going. But
yeah, we were deemed essential.
But I think the key,
they let us they were like, look,
and we had to find that loophole ourselves.
Yep.
Like nobody told us we were going to be able to stay open. I was like, man, I do ambulances, police cars,
but whatever,
emergency centers,
whatever.
Any sign. I put a sticker once, like I stay open, like please.
But whatever that deal is that you talk about,
put them on,
like doing the extra stuff, like nobody, vacuuming out the seats. I think it's stuff like that because there would be, we'd be on jobs with other contractors and we'd be like cleaning rivets with a rivet brush to get little glue rings off of the side of the trailer, every single one of them, and we'd have people stare at us, be like, "What are y'all doing? We would never have done that." Like, no.
And then what's funny is they would always get started installing before us.
Yeah,
and we were always
we'd be
long gone before they got done.
Yep.
So our install process was so much faster, but our cleaning process it took a while.
Yeah,
but our shit looked better. I always tell the story about we were doing Hendrick haulers and. I hate being the specific, but it was I won't even say who it was. It was another hauler pulled up next to a Hendrick hauler, and they got out, and the driver was the one that told me the story. Because when I say hauler, I'm talking about car haulers. They take them to the track. I just assume everybody knows that. But so they pulled up. He parks. He gets out of his hauler, and they're standing there, and he says, "Man, what's up with your rivets?" And they're all tinted out, and they're, they look behind. And he's like, "What do you mean?" He points down at his, like, "Oh, yours are painted." He's like, "No, these guys wrap them, and they know what they're doing."
Oh yeah.
And it was like, "Oh shit," and so that was like the best case scenario for us. Like we didn't have kind of like what you're saying. We just nobody pays us extra to cut rivets. Josh, you got a picture of a cut rivet?
Yeah.
It's really hard to explain and to really appreciate it because it's such a small thing.
Oh, yeah.
But when you see one properly done, it's...
when I got into it and I kind of went on my own, I actually got to meet two guys, John and Jesse, and they had a bunch of fleet work. I mean, they were busy, and I got to kind of team up with them and get some stuff done. And they had a system. I mean...
Where are they out of the Poconos as well?
No, they were in the middle of PA. Near Milton, PA. We did a bunch of trailers. We did like 53-foot trailers.
Install only?
Install only.
Okay.
Yeah, but they travel now. They do a bunch of stuff. They have a whole crew. But working with them, I'd probably say was a big pivoting point in my industry because they knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they knew what they were doing. And it was one of those things like, if you're going to work with us, you're going to get it done this way.
Yep.
And I just had to pick up the speed and just go.
So these are all wrapped.
Yeah, that's clean.
Yeah. And the process that we do them, you can get them like that every single time. They all look that way, and I can, if I've got somebody and they've been working with us for 2 weeks, I can have them doing those rivets.
That's clean.
And they're all, every single one of them look that way. And
I think there's a video of me doing them somewhere.
But that process, the guy that we worked with is actually the inventor of the Rolly Pro. He came up with that process, and dude, it put us on the map. It made it so simple for us.
When we were doing the rivets originally, we had the spur guy that would follow behind. Oh man, that was fun. My guys would quit after like 2 days.
Dude, that was
spur
my job.
Guy.
My first install job was they paid me $150 a day, and I busted rivets all day long. I had a rivet brush, air release tool, and a torch.
Yep. And then I would bring in people all the time, and they would just quit on me. And we would do third shifts, and next thing you know, it actually was a big eye opener when we had a guy and I was helping them out with these trailers and there's not enough people.
Sorry.
So,
Calm down, Elon Musk. Not now.
So we were doing that account, and one of my guys quit on me, third shift, and we were doing it, and I just started having to do them solo. I mean, I was just going. I mean, I was doing all the trucks, and then that was actually when I think the Rolly Pro came out, and then we switched over to we ordered some, and we went, and it changed our lives.
Oh, it changed the game.
We were moving. I mean, we were getting like 3 done in a night. I mean, it was three of us.
When I met the guy, I had seen somebody else use it first, and it was funny because me and him were working together, and I didn't know it. I didn't know that he come up with it. So I'd seen somebody.
I didn't know you made that.
Yeah, so that's true. We worked at the same place. We worked at a big ass place though. But so when I seen him walking through one day, I'm like, "Hey man, let me get one of them."
Yeah.
And he blew me off. He was like, "Get one."
Yeah.
You know where to buy one. You're not getting one. That ain't the way that he's like, you know, it pays for itself.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he's like, it's like, and back then maybe it was $50. You know,
Yeah.
like you use it on one panel, it pays for itself.
Oh, yeah.
This isn't a gimme thing, bud. And so I was like, fuck you, dude. I'm not. Kiss my ass. I know I've been busting rivets long enough. I know how to bust rivets. And so it was like 2 years later, I ran into this Puerto Rican guy, and he is just slamming panels. Dude. You know, everybody says having a big wingspan makes a big difference, and for this guy, he was crushing it. Dude. He's just ripping rivets. I mean, I'm watching him, and I was in there. He was doing it was a third shift deal, and he had an ad on Craigslist where he was like paying $150 an hour. So I was like, okay, bet I'm going by here. Guy's paying $150 an hour on third shift. I'm working at night and I'm getting paid.
Yep.
But it was production work. So he would have these trucks come in. They were doing repairs on them, and then you would just do your repair. But they had enough work that you could really average about $250 an hour if you hustle.
Wow.
He was crushing it. I mean,
Where was this at?
It was out in the. And what's funny about it, because we're out in the sticks right now.
Yeah.
This was further out in the fucking sticks. I mean, it was way out there, and it was so strange because everything. It was such a beautiful shot. Everything was brand new, very well built, and it was set up to where, you know, they could pull 53 footers around. There was 7 bays. And one bay was a paint bay, and then all the rest were pretty much fab bays. They had one decal bay, but normally we would have 2 or 3 bays that had vehicles in them. But it was set up for, I mean, just turn and burn. Just bring them through, put them over in the yard, go get the next one, bring it in, and do it. And the first night I went in there, I walked in. They said, "Oh, yeah, Joe, you're looking for Joe. He's over in the corner." And so I walked around the corner, and I just stood there probably 2-3 minutes and just watched this guy just knocking down rivets. And I'm like, bro, what is going on? I'm doing this wrong. I don't care how much of an asshole that guy is. I'm buying one tonight.
Oh, yeah.
I'll have one
You
in
have
the
to.
morning,
You have to.
And so after watching Joe do those, it was done. It wasn't even close. But Josh, play this. So this is kind of the bottom rail on a hauler are kind of a pain, but you go in, kind of set that bottom edge.
These are rough because they have these little channels that go in between them too.
Makes them even harder. But you'll get kind of that first, just past the radius where the material's kind of tucked in behind it.
Yep.
And then the magic happens. The pause really builds up. Anticipation.
I feel like this is not the first time I've shown this on the podcast.
Nah, this is...
A lot of people have questions about them.
Mm-hmm. And I brag about it a lot too.
Yeah.
It's pretty great.
Textbook narcissist, that's what that is.
Can't help it. It's built into me. So that's all 4 cut, and then he'll come back and he'll tuck them all in. And then go back when he's done. If there's any edges that need to be put down. Yeah. That is next level. And so it's with spider wire. And so you don't have to worry about cutting the vehicle. You don't have to worry about. I mean, you do enough of them, your hands might get a little worn.
And I think that was Avery too. Mm-hmm. Avery's a little bit not to play favorites here, but 3M does like get tucked in behind there a little bit better than Avery.
Avery's a little bit gummier too. But, it's a little harder to cut. Yeah. Not by much, but
you can still get good
temperature
quality
control matters too in the shop too. So,
100%.
I mean, if it's a little warmer out, Avery's gonna be a little more gooey.
Yeah. Well, and we were super, like with the race shops, man. If you ever have you ever been to a pro race shop?
No.
You ever get a chance, go check it out, man. It's unreal. How long are you here? How long are you in town?
Sunday.
What's the day?
Friday.
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 Friday. I don't know if we could get you in one because you're down that way, right? You said you're down towards Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you're at. Let me look into it. Maybe we can sneak you into one and you can come check it out.
Yeah.
Because it's awesome. It's a. I'll send you a video tonight. Hendrick's got a really cool one where they do like this. Have you ever seen the drone shots where they'll do? The Dallas Cowboys had one a couple of years ago.
Yeah, through the facility.
Through the facility. It's
Yeah,
just
I've
sick,
seen that.
right? Like
I've seen that.
Like
yeah.
one shot, just super clean. The Hendrick.
Oh, they did one at Metro too.
Did they?
That was pretty sweet.
I don't know if I've seen it.
Yeah, that was sweet.
And
You
Metro-
haven't- Well, I'll show it to you later. Don't worry.
Is it new?
I don't think so. I think they done it a while back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're missing out.
I feel like I'm
Yeah.
missing out.
Yeah, you're missing out.
That's not normal. Normally I'm on that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Metro restyling, right?
No,
Or
no.
no.
Metro
Metro
Wraps down in
Wraps, yeah.
Florida. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they've got a pretty big place.
Yeah,
It's like three
it was
different.
neat, man. You
Yeah.
kind of see it from that perspective. It's like
Josh, can you pull that up? I just kind of.
it was different, man. It was
Nice and
different.
That sounds sick.
It's like building the dream shop, man.
Yeah.
It's,
Well, their place is cool too because it's kind of artsy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They get
but I saw a thing on them where they promote all that, but everything behind the scenes is all commercial.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Everything's commercial.
Austin Smith was telling me. I think it was Austin. Somebody was telling me about how like stadiums are a big thing for them. They'll
Yeah.
go in and do the stadium work, and they're
Yeah.
crushing that
And it's
space.
then they don't even have to promote any of that. It's more just like the art stuff. So
Right.
what you see is not what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of those like Jim Miller, right? Like he's got an Aaron's contract that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they're like, so when people are like, "Oh, you want to know how to do sprinters? You need to call Jim." And it's like, well, yeah, he's done
Yeah.
5,000.
Yeah, it was funny because when we were at that training, the advanced training, we were all putting out like our numbers, and everybody's like, "Oh, I've done now." He's just looking at everybody like, "That's it."
Yeah.
I think I did that last week. I was like, "Oh, snap!"
Yeah, Jim's on another level.
Yeah, his-
install only too. So
Yeah.
it's pretty wicked.
Yeah, yeah,
But like Jamie does a rap artist. He does buses and trailers. That's
Yeah.
his thing. Now he doesn't only do buses and trailers, but he does them fast as fuck. I know
Yeah.
that. Like yeah,
and those are not cheap buses.
no, I mean Kyle Larson, the driver of the 5 car. He's got one. It's called a Newell,
Okay,
and you can't get them. Right, they're sold before they're built. Yeah, so it's like if you're ordering one, you're ordering one in the next 3 years or something.
Wow.
Like it's something stupid like that. They only make so many a year, but they're over $1 million easy.
I didn't know it.
Yeah,
I
I
did
mean,
not know
and Kyle lives he's in another fucking. I am so rare. Do I ever find myself like jealous or envious or any of that shit? Right? Like I'm just happy that
Yep.
people are, But I went to Kyle's place. We were doing some of his personal stuff.
He could live in his shop.
Easy. Oh, it's a dream. So then this is garage, right?
Yeah.
This is his, and I went in thinking it was his house, So the front half is a house, and it's got all his bedrooms. I mean, it's built out. It's freaking awesome. You get a chance, Google it. It's phenomenal property. But the whole back half is a shop, like a race shop for his camper parks in there. I mean, it's just a setup. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. The grounds are beautiful.
Yeah.
Everything. I mean, it's a absolutely amazing house. And then you get in there, and I'm talking with them, and they're like, "Yeah, I mean, this is just the shop. The house is down the street." And I'm like, "Bro, I don't even got to go to the
Yeah,
house.
I don't
I don't
wanna
even
see
care.
it.
It
I don't
doesn't
wanna
even
see it.
matter.
Don't show it to
It
me.
doesn't. Yeah, I'm good. Like this is unbelievable."
Yeah.
And I was genuinely envious. Like I'm looking around, like I don't even know how this happens. Like I don't know how you get to a place like this in life because it's immaculate. And he was like, "Yeah, shop's pretty nice, man, but the that new camper we got."
That's it.
And we're not even supposed to call it a camper. That's like, some sort of coach or something. And it was a Newell.
Yeah.
I screenshotted some pictures of it the other day. It's unbelievable.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Why don't I pull up the Hendrick one?
I think you
We
can
wrap-
pull.
we can watch both of them.
Oh, you're talking about the drone video?
Yeah.
I would say, I really wish I had that. Anyway, look up Newell. They're unbelievable. Yeah. It's just crazy. Everything slides out, and Kyle's known for driving his. You know what I mean? Like I was telling my brother this the other day that they've got it set up to where like when you buy a Newell, they really don't want you driving it.
Okay.
Because that kind of devalues it a little bit, right? Like you're
to be driven in
it's
it.
to be like you're not supposed to drive it.
Yeah.
And Kyle's like, well, I'm gonna have to drive it, because like sometimes my truck driver is driving one of the
Yeah.
other rigs, and I'm gonna have to drive it, and he'll drive it through like Idaho at like 5 a.m. going from dirt track to dirt track. It's like he's another breed, but it's crazy.
This one's pretty gnarly. See if we got volume here.
We got to be careful. We're not going to get a strike for this, are we?
For what?
All right, I'm just asking. Jeez. Yeah, so like the graphics on the back wall right there, the graphics on the sign, all the haulers. Like people wonder like what, like see all the like the blue decals. They're like, what do you guys do? Every single item that you see like that they're using has some sort of decal on it. Tractors are full wraps, haulers are full wraps, including the roof. This is just like the first few seconds of this. So this is Mr. Hendrick's man cave. So when he bought this place, he said, hey guys, this is not dealership money. This is not race team money. This is my money. This is for me. And I'm just doing this because I need a space.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So
what?
Yeah. So this is his car collection. Every Corvette in that row right there is valued over $1 million. But there's graphics on everything. I mean, you just look around the building. Like we wrapped all the walls. He's got a real life transformer in the corner. There's a operating Dairy Queen right there. So they wouldn't sell him a ice cream machine.
So he just bought Dairy Queen.
A franchise.
Like, I'm just gonna put it here.
Bought a franchise and put it in his man cave. This is a museum. But I mean, look, every single one of those cars are wrapped. All the walls are wrapped. The floors are wrapped now. We done that a couple of years ago. So when we say like when you're servicing a race team, like this is what we're talking about. Most people think like a Saturday night race. You know what I mean? Like this isn't that at all.
So you see which direction we got to head in, right? Okay, just making sure. All right.
Well, so Charlotte Motor Speedway is literally right across the street from Hendrick Motorsports. And so you've got Charlotte Motor Speedway, you've got the dirt track, the drag strip, and then they just built a road course. So there's like 5 tracks. There's 90 teams and 5 tracks within 60 miles of each other. It's insane.
You can catch them. You can go in there and catch them practicing, pit practice.
Yeah. Just what you just seen. They'll be doing that on Tuesdays and Thursdays during the season. And
Go
they're
watch them.
all ex-athletes. So they're, guys that didn't quite make it pro,
And they build engines and
that's just like, $10 million worth of CNC machines.
Oh, yeah.
We wrap all these walls right here, all these graphics. We wrap all that. You'll see as they go through like the dynos and stuff. There's like graphics on all the doors, and it's just.
He was scooting down that hallway. I bet that was fun to fly.
This whole shot, right? I mean, this is crazy. There's people in there, and there's like whipping a drone. You see how like the pipes are hot, so it's like glowing.
I forget how cool this video is.
Yeah, it's pretty sick.
And they got to do it in like one take. There's no cutting.
I put those decals on right there on the bottom.
This one's got a couple takes. Like this is.
Oh yeah. I saw that.
So there's a couple, but I mean, there really has to be because
you got to have a consistent flow too when you're flying this thing.
Look at this, right by our face, bro. Like how crazy is this?
Just don't move.
So this is actually the shop floor. So we talk about like wrapping the cars in the shop. This is what we're talking about.
Oh, that's sweet.
Is that not crazy?
That is sweet.
But I mean, you don't just it didn't just happen one day where Hendrick Motorsports calls and says, "Hey, we need you to wrap 350 cars next year." You kind of build up to it. You kind of work into it, and that's just competition and show cars. That's not including the haulers or any other subsidiaries that we do like commercial work for. Yeah, it was a pretty good program. We had 4 championships with them. Did Jimmy Johnson's 7th championship? Pretty cool.
And now I'm starstruck. So
it's weird, dude.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it was fun. This is their in-house guys. These guys are goobers. They don't know what they're doing.
That's why they had just white panels. Just turn it white. And then
bunch of wrench turners.
Yeah. Can you guys act like you're wrapping that car real quick? These are podium cars. We wrap all these too. So every car you see is wrapped. And anyway. Yeah.
But yeah, that's the.
And so when we're talking about race team, this is one.
All right.
This is one team. They have these. They're everywhere. There's one
everywhere down here. It's not everywhere up there.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure there's race teams. There's got to be close to the track. Got to be, man. Like IMSA teams or something, like road course teams.
I think so. We're gonna have to start writing this down. I don't, you're not taking any notes over there. I'm a little. I don't know.
Now we gotta watch Metros real quick.
All right. Oh yeah, that's sick already. How did I miss this?
Yeah, Mr. Social Media.
This is sick.
I do my shopping to be over right now.
What is happening?
Okay, pool table
Yeah.
and pinball machine.
Upstairs, downstairs. That's dope. They did the sound overlay or whatever. That's cool. Damn.
Yeah.
Damn. Huh.
Interesting.
What is the tent thing there?
That's their tent department.
What
They have
was
like a they call it something else. Yeah, they have like their own department just for that.
Is it like a separate business?
I don't know how they might just
Oh,
build
sure,
it separate.
But I'm just saying, like it said, like tents, something.
Tintum or something.
Yeah, you see that? Yeah. Is that a tent brand?
I think
or
they just
is
that's
that
just
what they
like
call
their
section?
separate.
Yeah.
It's good to split some things sometimes. You
Sure,
know?
sure.
That way it's not all together.
No, that's wicked. I hadn't seen that yet. That's
That
pretty
shop is
sick.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when you guys get there, you'll have to call us in. We'll do a drone video for your shop.
Just fly through.
Like
Josh
2
went
seconds later, I'm like, oh. Yeah,
Josh went through a
I've been-
phase of like building full out
I've been-
custom drones.
Been waiting
Yeah?
for a reason
Yeah.
to build another drone.
See, man, the one guy I had, he worked for me for a while. He reminds me of you, man. I couldn't keep him though. Couldn't
Yeah.
keep him. I'm trying to bring him back. He just had kids. I'm trying to bring him back.
Scott's trying to keep me too.
I'm trying to keep him around.
See, you got it.
Hold him tight.
I'm telling you, we got to get him back. We gotta
It's
get him
tough.
back.
It's
I'm not even going
tough.
to say his name because he's going to listen to this podcast. He's going to be like, oh, that's me. I'm like, nah, it's not you.
But it's tough. I mean,
is.
you know what I mean? Like
It is.
Josh can go anywhere in the world and work.
Yeah, but look what you guys built now. You know what I mean? Like you're built together. You know what I mean? You're building it. So that it shows, you know, if you stick together, you can become something that's great. So
Yep.
you're trying to push that. And
Yep.
if you both can be on the same page, it's sky's the limit.
Yeah, no doubt. Couldn't do it without him
Yeah.
for sure.
And
You know
then
what I
you can
mean?
dabble into other things that you didn't even think you can do.
Sure.
You're just brainstorming ideas, and next thing you know, you're like, yeah, you can actually do that. Oh,
That's literally
go.
all like our relationship has
Yeah.
ever been. Is
Yeah.
like him thinking up some crazy shit and me being like, well, maybe we can do it.
Yeah.
We'll try it.
Yeah. And then it's just get real practical, right? Like
Yeah.
it's like, you know,
cut the fat.
Yep.
Cut the
Yeah,
fat. Let's
we
just get to
go
it.
we go way out, and then I'm
Yeah.
typically the person is like, let's be realistic.
Yeah. yeah.
but you got to be prepared for it too. You know what I mean? Like having the space made it a lot easier.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, when he said, "Hey, look, we got to have all this shit in the podcast room. We're not doing a podcast."
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, well, let's go get it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's figure it out.
But that's
So
how and that's the part that it drives me crazy to this day. It's like when we did the edition, again, I'm not talking this big, but we did it and I was like, we're going to do it right.
Yeah.
We're going to do it like this. We're going to do it. Everything's going to be permanent. We're going to get the lights. And it's going to be done right.
Right.
And then to almost get it done. And then everybody's just like, deuces. I'm like, we didn't even get to see it through, man. Like,
We have a similar. That's kind of how the last 2 years went. Scott was really pushing to do the tool stuff. He sunk a bunch of money into the machines, and like it just wasn't working for me and my wife. And like so we hit the road for a couple of years, but
it's tough. It's tough.
Not really. I mean, you get to a point to where it's like, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to mash the gas. And then it helped because then it was like when Josh came back, he seen it. He was like, oh shit, this is happening. This is for real. You're not fucking around anymore.
I think, and that's why I said this year, 2025. I mean, because when I came back, it was more of like, let's try to grow this team thing again. I'm like, I think I got to change my perspective.
Let me say this.
I just got to do
I'll throw
it.
this in there real quick. I don't think he ever thought I was fucking around. I shouldn't say it like that. He knew that I was working hard.
no, it's just we were just trying to half-ass a lot of stuff that we knew that we needed.
It's tough. It's tough because you got to be committed. You
Yep.
got to be committed.
I did want to ask you though, because you've said that a couple times. What does that look like for you? What does doing me look like?
I'm not gonna lie. I have no idea.
No?
I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
That's where but I got to change my perspective on like trying to grow the team right now and saying I'm relying on all these other people to kind of put in versus that mindset. Now I'm just going to put it all on my shoulders and let's rock. Let's go. Like, so this next year, I'm just going to push it, try to grow me as an installer, more brand awareness on kind of like my staple in the industry. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm big in the industry. We've never really had that opportunity to kind of put myself in the spotlight or anything like that. Projects we work on, they're cool. I'm not going to say they're that cool, but you know, it's.
But for people that are in racing, it's cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why, like, like I'm starting, I said that earlier. Like I really want to lean into that because there's a group of people that they could care less. Like they're like, who cares? Like, why do they waste all that money on that crap? Like, get a life.
But
like,
you're going to find those people that are going to be like,
yeah.
My wife would probably be okay if that place burned down to the ground.
Like who gives a shit, right? But then, but
like, what are you talking about?
yeah. But there's a group of people out there that are also like, dude, that's the holy grail, right? And so earlier when we were talking about, that's what I was talking about, like just really dialing it in to like who that person is. Like when it comes to install, the knife tucker was really easy for us because it was like when we made adjustments. I'm not going to oversimplify it because Josh put a lot of work in on this, but it was like, what do we need it to do? That's it. And if I use it as an installer, then another installer is going to use it. I'm not going to have to sell it to them. I'm not going to convince them. Either they like it or they don't. And if they don't, then we can make adjustments. Yeah. What is it about it that you don't like? You know, how can we make it better? And so it was always just thinking about how to properly serve that customer. And in the wrap space, like one of the ones that I've really been on here lately is like really like educating yourself from a marketing perspective, like especially in the commercial space. Like how can you help your customer? Like you're a marketing resource for your customer. What does that look like? Yeah. What do they actually need? And you look at people like Dan Antonelli, like I think what Dan's doing is fucking awesome. Dude. Yeah. I think the industry needs it because do you follow Dan much?
I actually know him personally. I work on his private cars.
Come on. Yeah. Get out of here.
Yeah. I do Dan's cars.
Shut up.
Yeah, he's only like an hour from my shop.
No chance.
Yeah, at one point we were kind of like dabbling in me doing some printing and installing for him. I did a couple counts for him, but that was kind of when we were trying to grow my shop, and it kind of didn't work out the way I wanted it to. Before I could take on something so big.
That fucking sucks. Because that would be huge. Because I think CL Visual.
Yeah, Chris over CL
has it now.
Real cool guy.
Dude, Chris is cool as fuck. Yeah, I like
cool
Chris a
We
lot.
do some installs for him too.
Cool.
We've been to his shop.
I did not realize y'all were that close.
Yeah. And it's funny because we were doing an account up that way, and it's one of those things where you just got to take a chance. And one day I was messaging Dan, and we were just kind of talking, and I was like, "I'm coming to your shop." He was like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "I'm just gonna stop by." Like, whatever. So I came by, sat down.
The new shop?
Yeah.
His new shop?
Yeah.
is it sick?
Oh, it's dope.
It looks sick.
Yeah, it's dope.
Like he looks over the.
So yeah, so we got to sit down. I actually did a wall graphic in his office.
Really?
The one with all his fleet on the back. Yeah, I did that one in his office. And I wrapped a couple of his accounts back in the day.
Cool.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. Real cool guy. And then I do his personal cars, like his Corvettes and stuff.
Dude, that's cool.
I did the PPF on those.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's pretty neat.
So
cool guy.
You need to tell Dan and Chris, they both need to get their asses down here. Because you've done it, right? Yeah. So if you can do it, they can make time.
They can do it.
They can come down. They can make time.
I'll let them know.
I'd love to have them. I've told them both. I'd love to have them all.
Yeah, real cool guys, man. I mean, Dan specifically, I mean, we talk every once in a while. Yeah. We chat. He's just humble. I've actually even been to his new beachfront house.
No way.
Yeah, I got to go see that. That was pretty neat. I mean, just kind of seeing how you can take everything you try to build, and then you had a health scare. Mm-hmm. You had open heart surgery.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it kind of changes perspective on things. So he's trying to be more family oriented too. And then just kind of seeing that too, kind of opened my eyes. It's like, man, you can put as much as you want in, but if you're not there to reap it, what are you doing?
So I try not to put people on the spot, right? Yeah. But I gotta. Have you read his book?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have both of them.
Good, right?
Yeah.
Like he's good.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
Right. And so that angle that he's coming from, like he really and even him, like he's in a really specific spot because we were talking about just design, right? He just designed. We talked about that some earlier about Ray from School of Racing Graphics. He's just designing. Yep. And they're building
you got to find that niche and just
like
hone into it.
But they could take it to a whole nother level. Yeah. Like they have dialed that process in to where it kind of scares me, but it seems like they just get more and more successful. Like
it's great. I mean, you got to deliver though. You got to deliver. Yeah. I mean, that's one of those things where like, even I tell my wife all the time, I'm like, man, if we're going to do this, we got to deliver. You got to, if you're making these promises and you're changing people's lives, you're putting so much weight on your shoulders. I mean, you can have the team, but
do you think it makes it challenging? Because I hear what you're saying, like diversifying a little bit. Do you think that makes it challenging to hone in when you're diversified like that?
I can say, yeah. I mean, because you're dabbling in so many different things that you got to perfect them all. You can't kind of go 50. I'm 50-50 at this. I'm 100 at this. I'm 20 at this, and then offer it all. You can't.
Right.
So like even like 10, we offer 10 at my shop, but I bring in a contractor on Fridays. He does it.
Gotcha.
Don't get me wrong. I would love to bring 10 in house. I would love to, but it's one of those things where I don't have the time to perfect it to where the time matches everything else that I'm doing. So I'm like, no, that one we bring a guy in for that.
Gotcha.
I'm trying to find other avenues on that, but as long as they match the same quality that the shop is looking for. like I said, this year I'm going to try to push as much as possible as my face and the brand to help promote everything. But in the end, I mean, we're going to need help. We need help. You can't do it by yourself.
You said you took a 3M class.
Yeah.
You took it at a distributor
No, I took 3M in Minnesota.
in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Did you get your preferred?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're on the 3M
Yeah.
preferred list?
But to get back, it was tough. You
I'm
talk
sure.
to 3M about that.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Took me a year and a half to get back on the list.
Well, it's hard for people to get on it
Yeah.
as soon as they,
Yeah.
as soon as they, if you go and take your test, you better stay on top of it because, there's one lady that does that.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not even going to say her name because I don't want to, I don't want anybody, but she's good. Like she does a really good job, but she is overwhelmed.
Yeah, I can see that.
They're just
Yeah.
because she's the only one, right? So everybody that takes class, it all funnels down to her. And if somebody does one thing wrong,
Yeah.
she can't go, you know what I mean? Like if they don't put in their scores or something, you don't get put on the list, right?
Yeah.
That goes back to the facility.
Yeah.
Even if it's at 3M, she'll push it back at them and say, hey, look, figure that shit out. I'm not, she probably don't say shit because she's a nice lady, but you know what I'm saying? Like she'll push it off and just say, hey, no, figure this out and then get back to me. I can't. So she's real to the books, but so
It was cool seeing that facility up there. Yeah,
I bet so.
That was neat. Like I said, going to Miller's was neat. Getting C360s was neat. Just being able to like diversify and seeing other people's shops too.
Yeah.
And seeing how they operate and kind of how they were able to scale this industry. Because some people think so small-minded sometimes too.
Yeah,
it's like, I don't want to put myself in a corner where I'm staying here and I'm not growing it. But at the same time, it's like, man, if I could just hone in on this craft and I can still split it 50-50 with family, this might be it for me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that might be it until they get older. If they get older and we kind of grind out as a family and we grow it in that perspective, I'm all for it. And if they branch out and do their own thing, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure I'm also setting a footprint in the industry too. So I'm trying to see what we can do for next year.
Yeah, my daughter, she's 16. So we're over the last year, we've had an opportunity to really talk about it, right? Because it's important for me not to bring it home.
Yeah.
And when I say I don't bring it home. We don't talk about it at home, right? Like there's like, and my wife, she's funny, Dana. She'll since we've been together, she's always asked, when are you going to get a real job? Like it's an ongoing thing for her, right?
That's why I had to bring her in. She didn't believe she didn't believe I did something for real.
Right.
I'm like, you got to join this. Like,
you got to see what's
you got
going
to
on.
see it now.
Yeah.
She sees it.
So, but and for her, she's like, so even Caitlin, she's like, well, I've got to show. In her mind, healthcare is super important. She loves working with kids, and she's great with kids. And I would never try to push her one way or the other, but I let her know, like, right now she's going through this program with DECA through through school. It's like a entrepreneurial business class type thing, and she went to her mom and she was asking her about it, and she said, have you considered asking your dad? She's like, what do you mean? And he's like, he'll write a business plan for fun.
Yeah.
Like, this is something that you should probably ask him.
Yeah.
Not only will he appreciate you asking him, but you'll actually probably learn something. And we got to talking about it, and she was like, you do this?
Yeah.
Like because when you do stuff like, it's like anything else. Like when you work on stuff like that, what your good ones are, So of course I showed her some good ones. You know what I mean? I'm like, just check this little something I worked on. Nothing
this
big.
one worked out.
And she's looking at it and she's like, what in the world? Like where? Like where does this come from? And I'm like, well, this is what I do.
Yeah.
This is actually what I do. Like and she was kind of floored, and it was like there was like a moment there of like, it looked like interest to me. You know what I mean? So it was like, if you're ever, this is something that you want to think about doing, like I would love for you to know that this is an option.
Yeah.
Just because, if from like the healthcare system is a scary thing for me.
Oh yeah.
When I think about healthcare and like even like just like nutrition and diet, like proper diets and like what's in the food and like how to navigate. I don't know.
One bad decision you can make and you can
Right.
put somebody else in the wrong direction too.
Exactly.
So it's tricky.
And so it's like I've kind of, even with that, like I've talked to her about like, hey, maybe you should be like something a little bit more natural. Maybe stay away from and that's just how I see it. And
They're gonna do what they want.
She's gonna do what she wants to, right?
They're gonna.
And so it's like I was talking to her and I was telling her like you could be independent. You could be independent healthcare and kind of go that route. And she at that moment she'd never really thought about it. Like, oh wow, you're
And opens your eyes.
right. I could work for myself and have an independent practice. And so she's like doing research. And so it's like maybe it won't be in graphics, right?
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't wish it on her if she didn't want to be in it. You know what I mean? But if I could inspire her just a little bit to, like maybe pave their own path, or at least know that it's an option.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you see these people get into jobs that they hate.
Oh man,
and they're miserable.
I think everybody that I know that graduated, they're in a different field.
Yeah.
Every single one. I mean, and my daughters, they're 10 and 8.
Sure.
But my 10-year-old, she's really into drawing, and you can see the 8-year-old following her footsteps. But I never pushed it on them. I kind of just, use your imagination.
Sure.
Here's a coloring pad. Here's some pencils. Here's some mark. But I'm not going to push it on you. And then they're really into it. And they've never had a tablet.
That's
no
cool.
social media.
That's
they didn't even be on YouTube till last year when they started making like in their curriculum.
Sure.
I was a little against it, but it is what it is. And then now finally I got her iPad so she can start drawing on
To
it.
be fair though, they can learn so much on YouTube. You know what I mean? Especially in the drawing space.
I know.
Like,
It's just so many.
there's problems that come with it too.
There's so many other avenues where you could just kind of like teeter off, and then your attention spans matter. So for us, it was more of one of those things. Like I was never really big into it, so I was like, you know what, this worked for me. Let me see if it could work for you. So when they're ready, by all means, here it is.
Sure.
Whenever you say you're ready, take it. Even like sports, I didn't push sports on them.
Yep.
They didn't even start playing until last year because we moved to Texas and we came back and we were doing us. And until they said they were committed, I was like, I'm not going to force it on you. But when you tell me you're going, we're going. We're going. So that's why I put the hoop in the back and then in the garage.
Yep.
I trained them on weekends. Like we're ready to go. And she went from not being able to dribble to being one of the best scorers on her team now in a year. So it was like,
my
let's
wife's
go.
been really good about that. She'll lock her in. She'll say, hey, look, you signed up for this year. We're finishing this year, and then that's it.
You have to because you got to see it through. I think
Yeah.
one of the things nowadays is a lot of kids, they're promised all these things, but they're not really forced to see things through.
Right.
So they're getting used to being okay with just being okay, and that's overall. It's not. You're not accomplishing anything. You have to kind of see it through, figure out if that was the end result, and if it's not, you pivot. But pivot once you saw it through. Don't pivot halfway through because then you're gonna get that stigma is gonna become custom.
I've got. Maybe it's like a superpower or something, you know what I mean? But like I've got this ability to like see that in somebody like almost immediately.
Yeah.
So me and my daughter were at the grocery store the other day. We ran across this young kid. It was on Thanksgiving. It was yesterday. He's working. He's happy. He's clean cut. I mean, just he's seen us standing in a long line. He went over and turned the light on and come on, he's there on things. Dude, I just felt sick. I was like, hey, look, man. You ever decide you want to make a career shift, you call me.
Yeah.
I will put your ass to work tomorrow because you can just see it in them, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They're hungry, man. And they love to learn.
And not that there's anything wrong with working at a grocery store, by no means. You know what I mean? Like he was living it to the most, and so like I'm always looking for him. I feel bad for, some of these big corporations because if they let me in the door and they got somebody good, I'm offering them a job.
Yeah.
I'll tell them we'll build a career.
It's tough, man. Yeah, I almost wanted to put on that little billboard that I'm going to put up, always hiring.
That's it.
But at the same time, I don't need a million people asking me for a job either. I want to be able to like fine tune them. Like sometimes I do an interview and I don't know by the end of it, like it's just not going to work out.
That's it.
It's just, unfortunately, like I'm not really hiring right now.
Bring them in for a day, man. As soon as we started doing that, that changes everything. Because then we know, you know what I mean? I spend a day with somebody, I know where they're at.
Yeah, you can feel them out.
Yeah, because all it takes, if they're in my presence for 4 hours and you see them on their phone, picking up their phone, looking at their phone, hey, look, man, it's probably not gonna work.
You can't even give me eye contact. Like we're
not
even
paying attention. You're not interested. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
Right. But you should probably be looking for a job that maybe you're a social media guy. Maybe you need to be doing that. If you want to be on your phone, there's opportunities out there.
Yeah.
North Carolina is cool. I always use Epic Games. Are you familiar with Epic Games? They're out in North Carolina.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. But they're out of Cary. And so like when I meet people and I'm like, oh my God, my son just loves video games. That's all he wants to do is video games. I'm like, cool, keep him in it.
Yeah.
There's a $11 billion industry for it. And the headquarters is right down the street. What are you talking about? I'm like, dude, let them be who they want to be. It doesn't matter.
Just make sure that they're committed to whatever it is too. They're not just doing it to kill time. They're doing it to like learn something.
It's
like
the worst, man. We get people that come in and it's like, man, if you don't want to be here,
just leave.
Yeah.
Who forced you in the door?
I wanted to be there. Those race shops, man, that was my dream. Like I didn't care how I had. When I tell you, I take sweeping the floor serious.
Yeah.
Because when they came through and they say, damn, it's clean, I wanted to look over and say, oh, that was Scott.
Well, that's not. I even told her all the time. I mean, the shop needs to be a certain way because you never know who's going to walk in that door.
Never know.
You don't know who the next account is.
Nope.
I could be working on a rust bucket, but if the shop is clean, then I'm like, man, I want my car here.
That's the guy.
And there's a lot of times where clients are like, hey, I'm going to drop it off. And I'm like, don't worry, it's going to be inside the garage the entire time. When you're ready to pick it up, I'll bring it out. Oh, but it's not going to be taken. I'll work around it. Your car does not sit outside when it's in my shop. It's going to come in. When I'm done, you pick it up.
I thought that's the kind of the point I was trying to make whenever I was talking about seeing all the cars in there. I thought that was pretty cool. I was like, hell yeah, that's
we do our best to do that because, I mean, some of the cars we do work on, I mean, again, they're not as some of the other shops, but I mean, we do work on $100,000+ cars all the time. And it becomes a regular. It just starts, and it's one of those things they trust us, and we make sure like we have security, we got the cameras, we're always protected. Everything's like our insurance is up to date. So they know their cars are getting taken care of. And then when we work on them, like we're servicing them things like I take care of everything like it's mine.
Right.
So every vehicle, and that's why I do what we do to our vehicles. People know if we're going to put that much care into our stuff, we're going to put that much care into theirs.
Sure.
So it definitely works.
Yeah, I'm going back out. I got to look at it again. Not for any other reason, just because I wish I'd have known there was PPF on it, and I should have known because it shined. Like as soon as I opened the door, I was like, damn.
It's the first guest that I've like actually took some video of the car.
Oh really?
Yeah. Well, I was out there. I was like, hold up.
And it's not. We didn't even clean it.
Let me
We
get
should've
some.
cleaned it.
Nah, it looks good.
Sorry, we've been driving.
It don't
around.
matter.
We drove down. It was a long drive. That was a long drive down.
It looks good.
Well, man, I appreciate you coming
Hey,
and
man,
doing the
thank
show,
you.
dude.
Thank you.
This has been
Pleasure.
great.
Pleasure.
I don't know. We met down at WFCT. I just felt like we knew each other. It's funny because people ask about like the podcast and like how do you pick people, and it's like, man, like they got to be somewhat interesting or they got to be passionate. You know what I mean? And like for you were both those things, so it was like this is perfect, dude. This is gonna be.
Thank you
great.
for having me.
And
Thank you for having me. Had a blast.
It was great, and I think you'll be surprised. A lot of people, and your setup and the way you're doing things, I think is really cool. So
Thank you.
Don't be surprised people reaching out and
Hey, we're trying to grow. We're trying to grow. Trying to grow.
All right, cool.
That's the game.
All right, Lambert, we good?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah. All right, let's go.